Welcome, welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Oh, we have a show for you today, gang. We are going to be talking about women in war. The draft, at least in America, does not include women. Should it? Should women be required to sign up to serve their country if the country so deems that they are required? Should women be allowed to fight on the front lines? It's a good question, and we're here to talk about it. But first, before we do, I want to just say Happy New Year to all the people in my audience. I know we had a stream yesterday, but it was a call-in stream, kind of a low-key thing. So now that you're all here, welcome and Happy New Year. Let's give a brief opening statement to each of these individuals. They can introduce themselves, and then we'll just get into it. And we're going to start with Ali. Thank you. Hi.
Hey, what's going on? All right, so my name's Ali. Do I think women should sign up for the draft? Probably not. It seems really unnecessary. If we need people to go to war and need people to fight, we're probably going to need the men more than we're going to need the men. We're going to need them first. In terms of them wanting to sign up to join and fight for the front lines, I mean, they can if they want to. They're going to have to be tested to see if they're even capable enough to do that. And if they pass the test, I mean, I don't see why they shouldn't do that. But other than that, yeah.
Okay. Thanks for being here, and I'm sure we'll get into it as we go. Lav, please, what do you have?
Hi, I'm Lav. I'm getting over COVID, so I'm low energy and grumpy. I don't think that we should bar women from being on the front lines if they want to, if they even pass like any like sort of like test to be like I mean, there are very few like even female Marines for the reason that like they're just not as strong, obviously.
I think
So
there are none.
I don't think that I just don't. I think that this is ridiculous. Obviously, women shouldn't be involved in a draft. There's never going to be a time where we run out of men, so that we need to do that. Men are just sort of built to be put to war, and women are built to have children. So that's
Fair enough. Fair enough. I hope that you aren't that this isn't too stressful for you with the COVID, but thank you for being here anyway. I really appreciate that. Next up,
Real Smith. Yeah. It's called Draft Kings. It's not called Draft Queens, baby. No, that's not what it. I think that women should absolutely be signed up for the draft. I don't want to live in a society where women don't serve in the military, don't work as judges, aren't politicians, aren't cops, and aren't the president. Okay. If we want women to be our president, then they should be required to sign up for the draft. If our laws dictate that women are unfit for the military, how can you expect Americans to see a woman as someone who is fit to be the president? The president's main job is to command the military. It's a military position. And if we want to trust and respect a woman enough to defend our country, then we're going to have to sign them up for the draft. In my utopia, so I don't think that. Okay, so I should get to. Okay, I'm skipping a point. Okay, I'm trying to go fast. Wick likes it brief. Women should also be firefighters, but that doesn't mean that I think that the guy who has the fire axe busting through a flaming wall should be a woman. Like, that person should obviously be a man, because that's a physically demanding job. But there are plenty of other roles in firefighting that a woman can do. So you should they're not the same as men. You should allocate the jobs appropriately. And there's a lot of non-combat, non-heavy lifting jobs in the military. There's cooks, there's like engineers, programmers, cleaners, industrial, manufacturing. There's basically every type of job you can think of. The military has to have people doing it. And so yeah, just do that. In my utopia, where that's the case, if there was a draft, you're going to see a military where entire branches or entire factions of the military are completely run and dominated and led by women. And I think that Americans they respect women so little. They imagine that, and they think women will fuck it up somehow with their stupid women bullshit. And I don't think that. I think that women are actually better workers than men, and that's been proven to be the case. They're more loyal to their employers and they're more disciplined. And I think that if we want women to stop acting like children, then all we have to do is stop treating them like children. And this is a big, important way to do that.
Okay, well, that was a lot. well, I'm sure we'll address it in the open. Last but certainly not least, Stardust, please.
Hi, I'm Stardust. So I personally believe that when it comes to selective service registration, it's not fair that men are required to sign up for it and women are not. It's just not fair under law. I think that women should be required to sign up for selective service registration. Just because they're signed up for selective service registration doesn't mean that when they're drafted, that necessarily they are going to be working in the front lines in combat. But if there are women who are able to do that, then they should be able to do that, right? It's going to depend on who fits where and what their best needs are. There are plenty of other jobs, being cooks, taking care of things from an administrative level, pilots, drivers, things like that. When technology is involved, women tend to, things are even. Also, we do have women who who have been in combat. Tammy Duckworth is one of my favorite politicians. She's somebody who is a senator, and she had her legs blown off in combat. But I think she's super badass. So yes, I think women should be required to sign up for the draft. Does that mean that women will necessarily be in these combat zones? Not really. Apparently, even when people were drafted for the Vietnam War, a lot of them were not on the front lines. So.
Okay. Well, that does bring up an interesting question, right? So for those of you who don't believe that women should be required to sign up for the draft, would your beliefs change if it was simply to service jobs within the military and things like that they were required to work for, or what are your thoughts here? Go ahead.
No, not really. I mean, the way I think about it is if we ever are in a moment where we need a draft, and if we have all these men and all these women signed up, realistically, we're probably going to choose the men first anyways. And then by the time we need the women, we're fucked. So it's like, regardless, if we have X amount of people, we're not gonna take everyone in. So we're gonna have to choose who we seem to be the best, and it's gonna be the men first, and then the women.
So you think the men are better at women at everything, is what you just said?
Wait a
No,
minute.
he did not say that. He did not say that they're better at everything.
I know he didn't say it.
No, the men are built more
to do everything better.
Durably. No, to do everything. That's not true.
We're talking about service jobs.
Hold on. This was in your opening statement, Smith. Is that you said you had said, like, how can we respect a president who, like, whatever. You went on, I'm too sick to fucking recite your stupid fucking dumbass argument. A woman does not need to be strong in order to be respected for her intelligence or her intellectual prowess. You don't need to be strong. In fact, a lot of men don't need to be strong for you to respect their intellectual prowess. So how can I respect a woman in a position of power as a professor, as a doctor, as all these things, if her body's not big enough to take bullets? I mean, come the fuck on.
I don't think that's what Smith is saying.
No.
I think what he's saying is that if we want women to truly,
can I say what I said instead of you saying what I said?
Sure, go ahead.
Women are weaker than men. Okay, women are weaker than men physically. So like, have them do jobs that are not like their lives.
Is a president like winning?
Right, exactly. And the president is a military commander. So that's a job where
you don't need to be strong to be a military commander.
Exactly.
Retard.
So you can. So that's why exactly. And you don't have to be strong to be a cook or a medic or an engineer or a programmer or a janitor. Okay, so have women do those jobs in the military because they're not as strong.
They should just be able to go into the military if they want to. A draft implies that we need people to catch bullets for our country.
So
when you have a military operation,
Hold
on, one at a time. Let's start us going.
When we've had a draft in the past, only a very small percentage of the people who were drafted actually went to the front lines. So that is not true. So a draft is not necessarily putting women in front of bullets. The women who are recruited could be doing things like being nurses and doctors. In fact, if you look at studies, women tend to make better nurses and doctors than men do. Their patients have better outcomes. So why wouldn't we recruit women for these things?
Well, why would you? It's like if most of the people don't end up going into the front lines and they're filling up service jobs anyways, why do we have to resort to like also going to women when we already have enough men to fill up?
Our
those
country
spots?
would never stoop so low as to enlist some pathetic, lowly, stupid, retarded women, smelly. Right?
Are you good, bro? You all right?
Why do you think women are not as good as men that can't do basically any job? Is because I'm talking about basically
I've never
every
said they
job.
couldn't.
Okay,
I said in
so
terms of
why should
war,
we pick men
in terms
over
of
women?
in terms of war, men are probably better suited for things like pertaining to war than women.
So like controlling a drone to shoot people. Do you think men are better at that?
Yeah.
Even something like even something as little as like lifting artillery
As
to
a nurse.
put inside of something.
Yeah,
man. Something like that.
Or if you need to
Even-
lift people as a nurse, you use a man.
No,
It's like it's just
dude,
better.
no,
You're
no,
better
no,
suited
that's not
in the
true.
war. That's not true. Okay.
The vast majority of there's a huge percentage of medical workers are women, and we still lift people every day with no.
Wait,
problem.
so in
That's why we
World
needed
War
male
One
nurses.
and
We
World
needed
War
more
Two.
male
But if
nurses
men
to lift
were
people.
were
in
medical,
World War One and in World War Two, actually, frankly, in every single war ever, there's never been a woman draft, and yet there's still been so many women volunteering to do medic, to be
so much
nurses,
for
to
the
do all those
kindness
things.
from the kindness
Women
of
will
them in
do
their
that.
heart
Women
to
will do
help
that.
their
In fact,
country.
it's still like it's almost conscripted in the fact that you're like socially, kind of not forced into it, but like maneuvered into that role. I don't think that we need something like a military draft for that.
Okay, so we do need it for men, but we don't for women because they'll just do it anyway because
I don't really believe in a draft, period. I don't think
we don't
there will
really-
ever be a point where we need a draft.
Like the
Okay.
draft is a backup plan. It's not a necessity. It's not like something
Yes.
we're
No,
like
it's a
using. We're
backup
not.
plan.
It's a
If it's
backup.
a
Yeah.
backup plan,
You're
then
changing
why
the
wouldn't-
topic and dismissing.
Wait,
You're changing the topic so that you don't lose because you've been backed into a corner.
Okay. If
No,
it's a
first of
backup
all,
plan,
the
if
question
it's a
that I
backup plan, why wouldn't
Wick
we?
said, "Do you think
include
women
it?
should be on the front
Hold
lines?"
on,
I said,
hold on,
no.
hold on. Give me a second.
If
The
Give me a
draft
second.
means
One at a
nothing to
time.
me.
Yes, there's a couple questions here that we're going to be discussing today. One is,
Yeah.
should they be required to sign up for selective service, the draft, basically? And the other is, what roles in direct combat, should women be either required if they were a draft or allowed in other situations? To what extent and what unique issues do women have in combat that we should talk about, right? There's a whole host of things we can discuss, right?
I also think forcing a woman to be around men, especially in a place like the military where we know like military rape is like rampant. I don't know.
Right.
It's like I don't know if that's a great idea. Like
New
putting
topic,
a woman
but I'm
in the
prepared for
middle
this
of like
topic.
a bunch of men. Like I
New
just
topic.
don't.
I'm prepared for it. Okay, so the sexual brutality against women, violence against women is a thing because what we just let women join the military where they used to not be able to. Actually, I don't know if they were ever not able to. But we've designed it around men.
They were not
And
able to.
we need to if we want to have women enlist in the draft or whatever sign up for the draft, then we have to make changes to the military. The United States military is not the most disciplined military that's ever existed. Militaries used to be way more disciplined, like where you were literally
When we used to like fight wars.
Yeah. So we do fight. Okay, you don't
Wait,
understand.
We
hold on,
barely
hold on, hold on,
fucking
hold on,
fight
no,
think you
no, no,
wars
no.
understand.
anymore.
I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand the
80% of the military right
are you
now
gonna
is
let me
sitting in their
finish my
barracks paying for
Are you
people's
so
OnlyFans.
scared?
They'll
Are you
never
so
see combat
scared?
in their fucking life.
You're afraid of letting me finish my point. Okay, so all we need to do is structure the military a bit more and add more discipline, and not allow that kind of shit to happen, and then it won't. Like it's completely
What are
possible.
Yeah, when you
They-
don't
Hold on.
allow rape to happen, it never happens.
Hold
That's
on.
what we know about rape.
Smith, what are you
Put signs up
talking about
everywhere.
when it comes
Oh
to
my God.
our, like, we used to have a more discipline in military
Not the United States. I'm
before
talking about
modern
like
day?
this.
What
So,
are you
like,
talking about?
So like pre-French Revolution, the French military was a lot better than any other military because it was mechanically disciplined. So much so, like because and back then that was before anybody could enlist voluntarily. At that time, you were forced to go in, and if you left, they would kill you. And like they
There were
trained
harsher
you.
punishments,
Yes,
perhaps, yes, but that
discipline.
does not equate to a more disciplined force. In fact,
Yes,
especially in those days,
does.
there like the amount of war crimes, for lack of better terms, that militaries would engage in were rampant, and they just weren't.
Yes.
They weren't disciplined, right? You
No,
had to let the
that's not what
troops
I'm
let
talking
off a
about.
little steam. They would have
Yes.
camp girls, right? Like
Yes.
a bunch of attachés, for lack of a better term, kind of following them around to kind of let off steam.
Yes.
It wasn't more disciplined at all.
Yes, it was. No, okay, so they did let them do that because they didn't give a fuck about women, and that was the spoils of war. They're like, okay, you beat this, now go do that. But also, it was incredibly disciplined to the point of like utter clockwork, and like you're gonna stand here, and you're literally going to stand in a line, and we're gonna train you like with like brutality and like mental and physical abuse, so that when you're standing in line and when someone's like 15 feet from you shooting you, you're not going to flinch, and you're going to, when I tell you to load your gun, you're going to load it, and you're going to take that bullet to the fucking forehead, or you're going to fucking shoot them, and that's what's going to happen. Or we're going to kill you. That's what it used to be. And if you think that we can't use, because the military has to be disciplined, it goes against most of my moral values. The military is an abusive place to be. Your individuality, your personhood, you lose rights when you go into the military. And the type of discipline that would be required for drafting women would be a higher degree, so that there's not fucking rape.
Okay, so just for the sake of I'm gonna completely ignore that because I don't know how. I wasn't paying attention, to be honest with you, and I just want to
Well,
talk
then
about
why
that.
don't you just shut up and let someone else respond to me?
No, dude, I've been fucking waiting to talk. Okay, so shut the fuck
Well,
up.
then
All right.
respond to me,
No,
or like
no,
respond
I'm
to
not
something
gonna
else instead of
fucking-
changing the topic.
I don't
Why
fucking
don't
care about what you
why don't
said,
we just
Smith. I
let
don't fucking
Stardust
care
go?
about what you
Let
said.
Stardust go.
Okay,
Go.
so
I don't care what you're gonna say.
Okay, fine. Don't care about it.
I'm gonna
When
change the topic as soon as you're done.
Fine. According to what I have been reading, less than 30% of wait, actually no, it's actually draftees for the Vietnam War only made up about 25% of the total forces in Vietnam. So again, it seems like the vast majority of draftees are not even going to the front line. That being the case, I think it would be fair if we required both men and women to sign up for selective service. One, because it makes men and women equal before law, and two, because most of the jobs probably they're going to be drafted into are going to be non-combat roles, and you still need people for those. There are going to be people who, for example, with the Vietnam War, there were people who were doing anything they could to get out of service.
Should it be 50-50
and they-
split? Like if we have a draft, should it be 50% women, 50% of the
Interesting
men in the
question.
draft that
I
get
don't
drafted?
know. I don't know about that.
Is
I
that
can't tell you-
equality?
I
That's
can't
what
tell
would
you-
be equality. It would be 50%, 50%, and then we
Yeah,
just
in
divide.
fact, we should have a quota. Half
And
of
then
the
there's a
military
bu-
should be
yeah.
Just a
female.
minute, just a
Then there's a
minute,
bunch
just
of people who
minute.
are signed up for the draft that didn't even go to the draft that are men that are just kind of like chilling.
So
while
again,
50%
let
of
me
women are.
finish what I'm saying here. The Vietnam War, there were plenty of men who were trying to get out of being drafted, right? With that being the case, and they couldn't get out of it. With that being the case, I think that men and women should be required to sign up for selective service so we can fill the roles that are needed without having to pull people in who are medically unfit for these roles.
We wouldn't do that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Is like
that's
unless
not-
we
you
did a
don't do that.
50-50, unless we had a draft and then we did all right 50-50, we're not going to sit here and decide like, oh, how much women should be doing these jobs? Where should the women? It's just going to be draft the men, and if we need the women, then draft the women.
It shouldn't be based on politics.
Also,
It should
I
just be
refuse to
as
believe
needed.
that to be seen as equal under the law, we need to pretend like men and women have the same like value to society. They don't.
We don't have the same.
So
no,
you
I'm
think
not
they're less
saying that.
valuable?
Wait.
No, they don't have the same
No,
value.
I think it's
no.
different and the
No.
same.
No. Okay, so
Separate but
I'm
equal.
not
So they're
saying,
worse
I'm
at
not
everything
saying,
except giving birth, is what you're saying.
I'm
You're
not saying that men and
No,
women.
there's no
that-
evidence to suggest that women are worse at
am I
running a
quiet? Am
country,
I
at
too
doing
fucking quiet
politics,
for
at
this panel?
teaching, at being a doctor. I don't like. There's no evidence to
Okay, then
suggest
why
this.
can't
Yes,
they
women
do that?
are worse at being strong.
Hey, guess what?
Yes.
Hey, guess
But,
what?
but we've
Teachers
already
were-
moved past that.
Shut
You're
up!
stuck on
Shut
that.
up, Smith. You're so useless. Okay, teachers were already exempt from the Vietnam draft.
The fucking pot calling the kettle black.
What?
Okay, fine, Smith. Whatever. Look, men and women clearly have differences, right? We both agree on this, lab, that they have biological differences in what
Yeah.
they are
Everybody on the
capable of.
panel does. And everybody also on the panel already agrees that women shouldn't be doing the most stringent roles that you need lifting heavy artillery.
If-
And then we keep
no,
moving
what
back
I'm
to that
saying-
and we're
And
changing the
what I'm
topic.
women also get pregnant. It's not like
What?
when you're in the military. What if you get
What's
pregnant
that?
in the
Oh my
military?
God.
Then you go home
Oh
or
my
whatever.
God.
I don't
Like
know.
our bodies
Okay.
are different.
If you get pregnant in the
Okay,
military,
okay,
you get
okay.
a massive
So,
fine. You go
let
to
me
jail.
let me inform you what
not-
happens because I've
we do
been
not make laws based off of people's bodies. If we want to be equal before law, we need to be equal before law. That doesn't mean we don't take into account the biological differences of women.
Why can't
and
we
men.
just be
We are
equal without
executing.
military why
Why
do we
can't-
need that to be equal?
Selective
that's the
service is something
law.
that is going to be so rare, something that if we even
Okay,
do
so
it
why do we
again,
need it?
That's
Oh my
kind of
God,
like what
you
where
are
I'm
not
coming
helpful, Stardust. It's because it's the law, okay? And if you do not think that a woman is fit enough to fucking be a doctor in the military or program in the military or an officer in the
Not
military,
even
then
that.
you
It's
don't
you
think
are
a
more
woman should
likely
be the
as a
president.
woman. You are more likely as a woman to be abused in the military, being around that many
Right.
men forcibly, than you are to even be like a positive force in the military. It's dangerous for women. It doesn't
every
make any
man-
sense. Also,
every man that
you
joins the
have,
military has
you
a
have
100% chance of being
you have a
abused.
finite amount of fertile years as a woman. Military men do not have that, right? So when you send a woman to the military and she can't get pregnant for X amount of years, you are stunting this woman's ability to have children potentially, harming her in a way that makes it so that she can't have children in the future, what have you. It doesn't seem worth doing. It just doesn't seem worth doing. If there was a big argument that was like, oh, women are so good at loading bullets into things that it like outweighed how abusive being around that many men could be to women, maybe it just doesn't for me.
Okay,
Also,
so
it
it does
agree
seem
with
Hold
worth
on,
doing
hold on,
because if
hold
you
on. I have a
want-
question.
Jesus
a question.
Christ.
I have a question on the pregnancy thing. So
Mm.
first of all, there is a rash, at least in the Air Force there was. It was a meme that before a woman, when a woman would get called up to go on deployment and things like that, suddenly they'd become pregnant and they would have to find someone else. That was a
Yeah.
big meme. So my question to those of you who think that women should be required to sign up for the draft. We have the
They
draft.
should be required to do birth
I'm
control
glad you're
also.
asking this because I really want to answer
Yeah,
it.
well,
So
let me
thank
finish
you.
the question right,
Perfect.
before we go off, okay? So
Yes.
what happens? The draft calls up, their name gets called, suddenly, oh look, I'm pregnant. Are they penalized legally for that? Are they forced to get an abortion? What happens? Do they wait until they're
get-
not pregnant anymore and then
you get-
draft them? Like what's the
Similar
what's
to-
the-
similar to when-
This would actually be good
Oh,
for society. Then more women would be
so
pregnant and we'd have better
already
replacement
when-
rates.
already when women get pregnant and they're in the military, they just get like sent back. They're
That's not
not, you know.
Discharged.
Okay, then
Well, they don't get. First of all, they don't get discharged.
Wait, that's
at
not a
all, right?
draft,
No, they don't get
discharged,
discharged.
right?
They just
That's
get
barely a
sent to a
draft.
different place.
Then you're making a system where like either you have to fight in a war or get pregnant as as a way out. No, like if you are drafted into the military and then you get pregnant after having been drafted, and you can tell when somebody got pregnant. There's a amount of time that you're pregnant. It's going to be basically 9 months. So if you get pregnant after being drafted, then you have a massive massive fine and go to jail. Just like when you're in the military,
Retarded.
you're not even allowed to
No.
jerk off like without like
Dude,
permission. It's
people-
even in the
people
in
get
the rules.
pregnant
Like
Talking
your
about
body,
it.
your body when you
military.
are okay. So most of the people on this panel don't understand the military. Like it goes against most of my. You're not a human being. It goes against my values like, but it's a necessary thing for society. You're not a human being. You don't have the same rights in the same way. Your body belongs to the government when you are drafted. When you are in the military, your body, you cannot get a tattoo if you're in the military. You have to cut your hair however the fuck they want it. You have to work out when they want you to work out. You have to train when they want you to train, and you have to not get pregnant when they don't want you to get pregnant, or else you're gonna go to jail.
When they want you to fuck them.
Yeah.
Okay.
No one,
so
at least I
plenty
am
of women-
unaware of any military person who has gone to jail for being pregnant.
No. What
Well,
happens
yeah, no,
in the
but they should
military?
do that.
What happens in the military when a woman gets pregnant is she gets transferred to like another place. Essentially, that's it. That's it.
Not sometimes. It really depends.
I'm
Yeah,
still unsure as to how that we would even select the women that come into the draft. If we put all the people in the draft, we have too many people to draft. Now we have to select who's getting drafted.
Also,
I still don't
just
see
by
where, I don't see where you would
women-
pick women above men. I don't
Also,
see where
with-
in the list
with
of
the
people
women-
you're looking for.
every
than
single
male
woman is on a
doctors,
fucking
so that's one
SSRI.
place.
You can't go into the fucking military if you have depression or anxiety. That cuts out 80% of fucking women. Like,
That's fine.
I'm about to say, what about-
fine.
So you're saying,
Do
so you're
periods
Yeah,
affect-
period.
do
A
periods
period
affect battle
also.
too? It's once a month.
I mean, yeah, they would.
That's fine.
Like-
Doctors function while having periods.
I don't think
Well,
that women
sure,
are
but-
that pathetic. I think that women can do jobs fine.
It's
In
not
fact, I
about
think it's
being
actually
pathetic.
I think it's actually a fact that women are actually better workers and more loyal to their employers, which is the most important thing.
I
in the
think that
military.
women
So we
are
should
smarter
replace-
and
so we should replace
therefore
the
more
soldiers with women.
valuable, and they shouldn't be put in the fucking draft to die.
Okay, well, you're going to
But they're
need the
not in the
smartest
draft
people
to
working for the
die.
military, or else we're
They're
going to
not
die.
in the
So
draft to die.
But I just don't even. You'd have to make an argument to me on why it's advantageous for the country or for women to be in the draft to even consider it, because we don't need it.
Besides,
So-
men,
so you're just
besides
against
men,
the draft.
do it
You're
You're
women.
just against the draft
Okay,
altogether. You're changing the
okay.
topic. You're not engaging. You're just saying no draft.
Just real quick. So I got a couple super chats. I'm gonna read them, and then we'll try to get back on track to some semblance of order here. $5 from the Alex Kirch Project to say they have to do a family care plan if they get pregnant. He was in the army, I believe, so I'm not sure how they do it there. Perhaps. $5 from Fairy Queen to say the New York Times just covered the sexual assaults that happened on October 7th. Should America follow Israel's example in drafting women? And that does come to the topic at hand, right? Given that rape and molestation things are a weapon of war, and we can see what's happening in not only Israel, Palestine, but also Ukraine and Russia, is this something we want to put women at risk for?
No.
I think, again, women who are drafted aren't necessarily going to be in combat roles. They are going to be doing things like nursing, like being a doctor, like being a cook. These are useful things in the military. These are roles that need to be filled. So yes, there is a risk of and I will 100% agree with Lav that there is a problem with sexual assault in the military, right? And that's something that needs to be fixed. But what happened in Israel to women happened to citizens, not military people, just citizens, right? This is so yes, it is a risk of war. And so yes, I think we should be really careful in where we put different people. We should put them according to their skills, and that alone is going to probably put most women out of combat.
But why? Just a follow-up question to you, Stardust. Why would, right, in that, like, why would you ever choose, to Ali's point, a woman over a man if they are so limited in where you can utilize them? Right?
Because women
why
are
not
better,
choose a man
again,
that you can put literally
Sure.
anywhere?
Women are better at nurturing. That women are better in these medical roles where they take care of people. The patients have better outcomes. So that is one place I could definitely see women. Women having diversity in the workforce does help the workforce. It does help the workplace. Having women as cooks, having women in other roles, administrative roles, these are things that can probably help the morale also of those places. So
I mean, in terms of work and jobs, sure, but in terms of war, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say that like that would benefit. I don't see diversity helping in terms of war. You're not really looking for diversity. You want orders clear cut and followed.
Well, women are
Sure,
better
but
at following
women-
orders.
So should women be the military and men shouldn't be the military since they're better at following orders?
Maybe they should just both be in the military.
They are both in the military. It's just men are more likely to sign up for the military.
We
Women are
don't
less
deem
likely.
women fit enough for the military to make them sign up for the draft.
Well, they're not fit enough, so.
So yeah, that's our difference in a definition of like I don't think that.
You don't think that women aren't as fit as men to be in the military? Do you think like we're equally fit?
I mean, like fitness, sure, but
women should be
women have less muscle mass.
Force conscripted to teach. I think men should be forced to go into the military. Women should be forced to go into education roles.
No.
I mean, have you seen women?
I actually kind of like that.
I don't know if I want them teaching anything. But
a huge portion
I don't know if I want Smith protecting our fucking country.
That's like what. That's what. I don't want lab teaching our fucking kids.
A huge portion of our schooling, a huge portion of our teachers are already females, and teachers are already exempt from the draft. So
okay,
that's what I'm saying. Everyone's already kind of doing the job they're best fit for. Exactly. So like most men are joining. Most military are men. Most men are joining the military. They're better fit for that job.
People.
So the reason, another reason,
the draft is for, so you get more men. Okay. And then the women who want to voluntarily sign up are already there. So we already have the women that want to be there. If you drafted women that don't want to be there, they're not going to benefit you.
If you draft the men that don't want to be there, they're not going to benefit. What kind of fucking argument is that?
Here's the problem.
You're just not going to get as many women to draft because we're all mentally ill.
Stop.
So you can't join the military as a mentally ill person.
Here's the issue, right? We talk about the draft and things like that. We have a world where there are fires, right? Burning, right? It's not a world that is engaged in a war, but there are many wars that are popping up throughout the world. The U.S. military is falling behind on recruitment. It is not meeting the standards it needs to maintain the force. Something has to give at some point. If, God forbid, the U.S. is dragged into a war, or several wars, there will come a point where, again, unless something changes and we are able to meet our standards, that a draft might be on the table. $5 from 𝕵𝖎𝖙 to make this point. Military recruitment in the U.S. has collapsed. Either conscription comes back or women need to step up. So that's a question. Why should women be exempt from being signed up to a draft if they are to be expected?
They have periods and all this other random misogynistic bullshit.
If recruitment is down, that means men don't want to join the military. If men don't want to join the military, that's a problem with men not. Like, that's a problem with the military not being able to recruit enough men. To say that because men don't want to join the military that we're going to have a draft and include women into the draft that doesn't make sense.
Why would you limit? Why would
also,
you
how funny is it? Because is there going to be a world conscription now? So now the military that we're fighting against, are they also going to be half women? That puts us at a disadvantage. Like, are they also making like, guys, we're trying to be really equal. The Middle East, we're going to war with Iran, and they're like, we have
the misogynists on the panel think that the misogynists on the panel think it puts us at a disadvantage, and the rest of us don't. And if we're actually behind, if we're actually behind on recruitment, so like another thing that I wrote into my intro, because
I think we need to return to an honor-based society for men, and that will help with the draft.
If there is a firefighter that is axing his way through burning walls to save my life, if there are not enough firefighters, and
you are more likely to die if there's a woman trying to save you than if a man is trying to save you.
I want that guy to be a man. I want that guy to be a man, okay? Obviously, because men are stronger, okay? But if there are not enough firefighters and the option is it's a woman, that's what I got. She's there and she's going to help.
If the option is you force another man to do it,
or I die in a fire, then
it's either a man or a man who is forced to do it. Why would you want a woman to be in that situation at all?
Okay, because we're talking about firefighters, so this is not we're not talking. Yeah, so that's not
But it's the same dynamic.
I don't know why we're talking about firefighters.
If there are not enough you keep changing the topic to not actually answer anything. The entire conversation. Anything that I've said, you've changed the topic. If there are not enough firefighters and you're gonna die in the fire unless somebody axes through the wall, it doesn't matter at that point if it's a man or a woman. You just need somebody to fucking step up and axe through the wall.
Well, somebody who can do it, not somebody who could.
I want to give it to Stardust. Go ahead, Stardust.
Please. Okay. So, all right. I don't understand. Okay, so the U.S. Armed Forces, only less than 15% of U.S. Armed Forces total are in combat roles. Why would we put men in logistics and administrative and cooking roles who could be on combat? Why wouldn't we put women there?
We don't need them on combat. Only 15% go. We don't need.
We
Okay.
need no. We do
You need to.
men
You
in
need.
combat.
You need to.
We
You need to
need
give me a
men in
reason why
combat.
you need to give me a reason why, since there's 15% of men in combat, you can send more, but 85% aren't. You're gonna have to explain to me why out of that 85%, we have to split it to women, just in case the 15% die that we have to keep sending out to war.
Because then we have more people in the military
Also,
and we
you
have
have
more
to
soldiers.
explain how this is
Just-
equality also,
Wait,
because if
this
you're
is-
arguing for
okay.
this based on equality, you have to then, like, what would be equal? Is it 50% women that we're drafting? Is it 50% men? Like, you need to,
Sure.
like, where does
But
the
I'm
equality
saying-
stop?
I think it should be like
But
so.
I'm
So
saying-
just like we don't choose
Oh my
between,
God,
just
I'm
so
going to
just
fucking
so
kill
just like we
myself.
don't discern.
No,
So
wait,
just
Vicky,
like
hold
we-
on, hold on,
so just
hold
like
on.
we don't
I'm going to
discern between
fucking
race,
murder
just like we
myself.
don't discern between race when the draft happens, we're not going to
Smith
discern
is
between
going to be
sex.
the death of
Yes,
me.
you are.
Okay, all right. So guys, so when we look at
Also, we do
15 less
discern
than
between
15
race and the military with IQ.
li-
Idiot.
less than 15% of enlisted personnel in the U.S. Armed Forces are in combat positions. Right now, when it's drafts, it's about I think it's less than 25%. But that being said, if we go to war with a nation like China that has a huge population, why would we waste men in roles like nursing or in administrative roles when we could have those men who are much more capable to put them on the front line? There will obviously come a time where we will need to expand the percentage of people or the amount of people on the front lines. And so to do that, it makes sense to recruit women, to force, all women to sign up for selective service, and they can work in roles that are best suited to them. Because guess what? Again, medicine is one of the places where women perform better than men. Why wouldn't we have them
The
there?
military
Why-
apparently not.
Because you're making the pool smaller of the men that you can pull from. So if 25%
No,
during the draft
men,
are,
you're making
if
it
25%
bigger. You're
aren't
making
in,
it bigger.
I mean, not really, because you're not going to draft everybody. You're going to draft an X amount of people, and if you
Right.
if you make the pool smaller of men that are being drafted, and you let's just say split it up 50-50.
Okay.
If those 25% are gone, and we need
Not
to
what I'm
pull people,
suggesting.
I know that's not what you're
What I'm
suggesting,
su-
but that's
what I'm
kind of
su-
like
what
what
I-
we're trying to get to.
No. So what I'm talking about here is there's inevitably going to come a point where during a draft we need more men, and we don't have enough men for the front lines.
So it
He
says
needs a
here the
math
first
lesson.
people who
Can I-
are
can I-
usually
can I-
drafted are healthcare workers. So actually, we should just have a female draft. So if the first people to be drafted are doctors, nurses, technicians, and therapists, then we should just get rid of a male draft in general.
We need a quick math lesson here. So if 85% of the people in the military are non-frontline combat like people, and then we have a draft that is 50% women and 50% men, then that means that there are more. So that in that case, then the draft, that means we have a 50-50 military, okay? That means that we have 50% of the military that are men. So that means we have plenty of enough of them to be the 15% that are in the front line. So no, there is no reason you're saying the pool is smaller. It actually means the pool is a lot bigger to have frontline combat. And it's like basic math. Go to fucking, like, if you want to argue about math, like
sure,
at least
draft women and we'll just get pregnant. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah, if there is a female draft, women will just get pregnant.
Because when you're in the military, you don't have
Smith, you're fucking insane.
If you get a tattoo when you're in the military, you go to jail.
You don't go to jail.
If you get pregnant in the military, you should
Are you
absolutely
retarded?
go to jail.
You don't go to jail if you get a fucking tattoo in the military, retard.
Yes, you do. It's against the law. You do not
Wait,
have a
no,
right to do that.
that's not true at all.
Listen,
Okay,
Wick,
stop,
we
because
need
this
you.
is... So, you do have to get a tattoo approved by your commander, because, again, there are
Right. Just like a
issues,
pregnancy.
right, with like face tattoos and things like that. You have to get it
Like,
approved
I
by the
love
commander.
ISIS
But
on your
if you
and
get
a
a tattoo, it's very without approval, it's very unlikely you'll go to jail. They'll
No, you'll get
probably
dishonorably discharged if it's
I
that
have
bad.
There'll be
or
other-
They
fined.
won't
I have
just
people
discharge
who are
you.
in the military who are in my
No.
chat saying you don't even have to do that. You don't even have to get approval.
At least in the Air Force,
Yeah, I don't-
you had to
my
You are
get,
not
friend-
especially
so
if it was in
you are not
certain-
allowed to get a tattoo if you're in the military. It's not that big of a deal. They'll probably punish you, but you'll get away with it. If you get
Oh, you were
pregnant,
saying
that
jail.
if you get pregnant, that literally precludes you from like fighting in the military. It's the equivalent
Yeah,
of fucking.
I've
it's
changed
not
my
literally the-
position.
it's like
We
cutting
should
off your
have a
foot.
draft because that would help replacement, and more women will get pregnant to avoid the draft, and we should do that actually. So I think that women should be drafted.
Okay, yeah. So so we can just disagree. I don't think that women are that like fucking slimy and conniving that they would like all get pregnant to undermine the draft. But I guess in your vision of the world where women are, your misogyny,
People were drinking
underhanded.
18 bottles of soy sauce to avoid the fucking draft to like
Wait,
raise their blood pressure.
Why do,
Like, what do
why
you
do you guys
talking
want women
about?
to be drafted? Why? Like, what is it?
Because if I
Yes,
want
well,
them- if
their
we want-
argument is
okay, I already gave
equality,
you-
but I don't.
yeah,
I
excuse
don't
me,
even
no,
see how
it's
this
not
can
even
even
that.
vote for a
Like,
woman to be the
my
president of the
main-
United States, we're going to have to actually view men and women as equals. And
That's
it
not
seems like
true.
both you are both giving very loud.
was
You have
president.
plenty of reasons why you don't think that they're equals. And you're just changing the topic or whatever
Never
you
said
can.
they weren't
You don't
equals.
want them to be drafted because you don't think that they're actually equally able to do the jobs or whatever the fuck,
Mhm.
or you just don't think that they should because you think men are like lesser, so you think that women they're above war. I don't think women are above war, and I also don't think women are below war. Okay, so like
Okay.
I think that they are equals, and we have to treat them like that if we want people like we do treat women like children, and a lot of women are mentally ill and retarded because of that. And this is a big step forward in not doing that.
But you keep relating it to president.
the-
Like Trump won
the
president.
reason-
He wasn't in the military. He wasn't in the army. He wasn't like he won president. You don't have to be that. So like a woman can
I-
win president without being drafted. I don't see what like that does with equality.
I'm
The
talking about.
reason- okay,
I'm
so
They
the
sorry,
usually don't run platforms based on being like the fucking leader of the free world. Like they're like that.
I'm
We need some
talking
change.
about.
We need
I'm
to
talking about
communicate
the
better.
perception of women in society will have a dramatic change if we.
No, it
draft-
won't
No,
because
it
you
won't.
think they're going to be drafted
What?
to fucking roles like that are still going to be sexed. There's
that's
still
also
going to be
considering-
sex roles
Sure.
in the military
And that's
in the
if we
draft.
have a draft.
Sure.
If we don't have a
and
draft,
they're-
we're
and they're
not gonna
perfectly
think of them
capable of
as
it.
Okay,
I'm
guys.
talking about things that
Okay.
they're perfectly capable of it.
How
of
are we
doing,
going to
but you're saying
respect a
that they
woman as
shouldn't.
president if she's not on the front lines?
I'm not
If-
saying that she should be on the
This
front
is
lines. You're changing the
nonsense.
topic.
This
I
is
did
all
not say.
nonsense. This is
I
all
did not
nonsense. I
say they should be
regret-
on the front lines at all. I said that
I
they
regret
like
doing this.
Stardust keeps saying that they should be fucking healthcare workers. Okay, that doesn't mean they have to be on the front lines. We just don't respect or trust women enough to do that. And if we cannot trust or respect women enough to do that, we think they're so slimy and underhanded. They're all going to
do.
get pregnant, which should be illegal because
We
that's
do trust
undermining
women.
the
We
draft.
actually trust women so much that we don't have to do
Okay.
military conscription because they will just be medics and nurses anyway.
They'll just
They'll
join up.
anyways.
Enough.
They
The
do.
reason
so
why I care
I don't
about
think
women
that that's why we
getting
don't enlist them.
the reason why I care about women signing up for selective service is because
I was
think
having an
we
argument
should
here.
have-
Okay.
Stop.
I think we
Everyone
should
is on
have-
this panel is allowed to talk. Everyone. Anyway.
I think we
go
should
ahead.
have the largest pool to select from so we can select the best people for each role. That is why I think it will be beneficial to expand that role so we can further
How much do you think it's
maybe
going to be expanded if you
reform-
add women? How much
Wait a
do
minute,
you
wait a
think it's
minute.
going to be
The
Also,
expanded?
think about
The
this.
way-
Before they
no,
ever do military
50%,
conscription, they ask
50%.
to volunteer. So they're going to ask people to volunteer. I bet you anything, especially if the roles are still sexed in the military, which both of you have acknowledged they probably will be, that a lot of women will not be fighting. If a lot of women know that they're going into the military to not fight, there's not going to be a shortage of women who are volunteering to go into the military. There is a shortage of people who are going to potentially think they're going to die in the military, which is why there's a draft. If you say women volunteer, you'll never see combat. Why?
Okay.
Like
When you go,
hordes
when you
of
go
women
to a
are going to
recruiter-
go. They're going to get jobs. They're going to maybe find a man in the military.
And
like,
they already do
that's-
during war times. Women do
Yes.
pick up roles that are
Yes.
necessary for them
Yeah.
that they can fill.
Yes.
like
Men,
very
we
small,
can't trust men to do that.
small amount. Okay, when you go to a recruiter, you get to recruiters never trust them. Absolutely don't trust them. But you get to pick like what you're trying to recruit for. You can say I want to enlist to be a grunt. I want to enlist. Like, you can say which thing you're trying to do. So like
Yeah,
why
that
don't
doesn't
they
matter
already
though.
do that?
To be clear,
Because
like
they're not needed.
you can
Yeah, but
you
we
can
shouldn't want
give a
women to be-
preferred job, but even
Yes.
if your guaranteed job is never guaranteed. I knew a lot of
Yes.
people who signed up to be a X, in their contract or whatever. But once you sign, right, they can reclass you. They can simply say, oh, no, we filled this job. We don't need it anymore. Sorry, you're going to be a grunt. You're going to be a bullet
If the military,
sponge.
once you're
happen.
signed
But
up, if the military deems that you're a woman and you should be on the front lines, then they have to do it.
Smith, I know it's exciting.
Again,
calm down a little bit. We're gonna give it to
Well,
Stardust.
the thing is, I never get a chance to fucking complete any argument at all.
What are you talking about? You've been talking most of the time here.
You talk more than anyone else here, and you've been saying
the more
nothing.
I talk,
you're
the
right.
more I
You're
need
right
to
about
talk.
you haven't been saying anything, but it's not for lack of trying.
Okay, so
thank you
again,
for your retarded whatever the fuck.
I understand what your argument is, Lav, that when women, when these things happen, women tend to volunteer for these roles. That doesn't mean that we can't still benefit from an expanded group of people to select from. One, I didn't get to say this before somebody cuts me off. The way that we currently do selective service and do the lottery is kind of outdated. We can improve upon that, and from the selective service we can look at people and see who is most qualified and choose those people for certain roles, and that will free up more men to be in the front lines, so we will have more of an advantage. Yes, lots of people will volunteer for the army. That doesn't
I think
mean,
that I don't think that there's ever going to be a shortage of women volunteers.
That doesn't
Well,
mean
there already is.
Wait,
No, there
wait.
isn't.
That doesn't mean.
Yes, there is.
Doesn't mean, guys.
No, there isn't.
Yes,
Just
there is.
because. Oh my God. Yes, there is. No, there isn't.
Don't
Can
let
I
her get
say
away
what
with
I'm gonna
that.
say? Okay. So
Finish your
again,
point.
Don't let her get
Just
away with
because-
You let her get away with
Just-
so much fucking shit.
just because women volunteer and you think we don't have a shortage doesn't mean that there won't be one, especially when it comes to men in the front line. That is why pulling from a larger group of people so we can expand the people that we pull from and improving the lottery system that we have and making it more about who's
Okay,
qualified
so in
to
this
be
hypothetical where women fill every position, where
I'm
there
not
are
saying
still
every
How many
position.
positions are women filling in your hypothetical, though, Starbus?
Yeah, that's another one.
What's the percentage of women that are going to
because
be
with
drafted to fill the roles?
volunteers,
choosing the
with
most
volunteers
qualified
who are
people.
already going into the military, then with volunteers and people who are being forced to go into the military through conscription, there's just gonna be there's gonna be too many women in the fucking military. Like there's just not gonna be. I just don't.
Like, even if we had a draft, we'd end up
85% non-combat roles.
So you want all the
See, here's
non-combat
the
roles
thing.
mostly
I
to be
would
filled by
want
women?
again, guys. No, that's not what I'm
Yes.
saying. I'm
I mean,
saying
that puts women in war zones. You
guys,
understand that, right?
guys,
How are we
guys,
gonna wait? How are we gonna
guys,
respect
guys?
women
That's not what I'm saying.
aren't
That's not what I'm
actually
saying.
fighting
What
in
I'm
war?
saying. What I'm saying is, do you guys know what the lottery system is for selecting, for drafting? It's incredibly old. You pull numbers from a fucking jar, okay?
Yeah.
We need to improve upon that. The way that I think that this would work is that we would improve the draft system. So yes, we have men and women sign up for selective service. And then we have a list of people and what they're up to, what they're doing, what their profession is, where they are in their lives, right? And we look at that group of people and we look at the roles that we need and we choose the best qualified people regardless of
But then we
sex.
remove them from our communities where we need them while we're at times of war to help the,
We need
Yeah,
them
exactly,
More, we need them
also.
more in the war. We need them more in the war.
No, you probably need more, like, the women that are suited for the medical and you probably need them at home
you
for
probably-
the kids.
Teaching.
And then you probably want the men,
Yeah.
like, men don't need like the best cooking and like in terms of like you're gonna get just
No,
as
but
fine.
You're like women are better
People
cooks.
who-
That's why they
They're
should
not
be
better.
You're gonna
cooks.
and you're gonna get more
women
like
who work in the service industry, right? That's plenty. There are plenty of people that we could pull from that group, right? Just because we're pulling people from these groups, from medicine, from the service industry, from other industries, doesn't mean that we're pulling all of them, right? We're
Yeah,
still
but
going to
why
have.
do we
even
need
if
to
women
pull
are better-
witnesses for war?
Guys, remember?
I don't know
Bring
if I
the
want to
shitty
live in a
ones, then.
world where the
Wait,
government
wait,
has
wait,
access
wait,
to
wait, wait,
everything
wait,
I'm doing at any given moment.
I'm not finished. The draft. Do you know what ages people are drafted at?
18 to 26.
18,
In the
24.
18 to 26, sure.
Yeah.
So even if we pull all of these women from these medical roles who are between 18 and 26, we are still going to have a huge amount of women over the age of 26 left who are perfectly capable, in fact, excellent at their jobs in the medical field. We won't have a problem there.
Okay. Here's
You
some
want
money
18 to
I'm going to
26?
make.
I don't know.
$5 from 𝕍𝖎. Hi, Wick. What is the topic today? I tried to guess, but it seems the panelists are having 4 different arguments. Look, I need to draft some help here, maybe. Darius for $5. You want to know why I think women should not sign up for the draft? Tell me for another $5. $10 from Artemis Fowl. The lottery is random because it's a lottery to find out who will be guaranteed to die in combat. When you are talking about a draft, they aren't drafting positions for doctors. It's for frontline bodies.
No,
That's actually not true. The first people in the draft is for medic. That's the first people in the
Vietnam draft. Yeah, the Vietnam draft only I think it was 25% of the people drafted were actually in combat roles. So that's what I read.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But medics are combat medics in many cases. Just
medics
true.
can be.
I was about to say,
combat
you're
roles,
still
yes.
taking women. You'd still be taking
these are
women
still
and
in
putting
combat
them
zones, right?
in a battlefield combat zone.
Sure,
So it's like
and it would
they
be
might not be on the
dangerous.
front line, but you're
And
still
also,
putting them in
if this is where women are most well suited, then a draft would look different. Like a draft would look like only drafting females for a time because they're better suited to do these jobs.
Yeah, but it would
Even
only
if
be
they're
women
not as
between
good
the
suited,
ages of
having
18
more
and
is better.
26.
Yeah,
Why
but
is it
then
better?
that
Why is it
ruins
better?
a fucking community.
I
That
need to know why
ruins-
it's
No, it
better.
doesn't. It doesn't, guys. It doesn't. And remember, it's between 18 and 26. There are tons of women over the age of 26 who
Those
are
are your most fertile years.
Why do you want
Those are your
them?
most fertile
Why would you want
years.
18 to 26-year-old girls?
40. What are you talking about? It's not you're not done after 26. You can have
No, but
kids
those are
after
your
26.
most fertile years. That's when you're going to have the best offspring,
Nobody
the
is
healthiest
getting
offspring
married
with
then.
the
Nobody's
most
having-
ease.
Most people are not having kids.
But
And I think they should.
A husband if you're in a military.
Well, then you
if you're
have
in
to improve the
military.
economy a lot if you want that. So that there's your first
Women have decided
obstacle.
that
No, we need
want
to get
to
rid of
wait
the
to have
porn
kids.
that you're
And
watching.
that's
Okay,
sad.
enough. I'm gonna try to recenter
People
this.
are too poor to
I'm
have
gonna
kids
try
in
to
their early
recenter
20s.
this and things like that.
They're doing
Um,
it anyways.
For those
No,
of
they're
you who
not. No,
don't
they're not.
think, so for
You're
Lav
wrong.
and Ollie, who are just totally against having women sign up for the draft, etc., is there a point we could get to that would change your mind? Like, is there a desperation point? Like, say we start losing to China or losing.
No, but
to
there
something.
is a
If we're that
there
desperate,
is
we already
cyborg.
lost.
Well, that's true. That's true. If we're that
Like, that's kinda
desperate,
what
we've
I'm
already
saying.
lost. We're just sending people in to die. If
Yeah.
there's ever a point where instead of just like your body, we are now becoming like transhuman cyborgs fit for the military, and there's a degree of like, you know, equalization after that. Like we both are in our little body suits that are, you know, Dorito shaped and pear shaped for women that have the same you know, capability, then sure, that makes sense. But until then, it's just not advantageous for women or the country in any way. Like it just
So
doesn't
you're
make any
you're
sense.
just saying that women are not as capable, and that includes like non-physically demanding things. Because
In terms of war, yes, I'm saying that. In terms
Why?
of war, yes, women are because men are better at handling the pressures that come with the war. You're going to be better.
Yeah.
They're better at.
So you
they're
think
better
that
at
women are
shooting.
retarded children?
Yes,
No,
in
it's
terms
not
of
even.
war,
It's
yes.
not
In
even
terms of
about.
war,
It's
yes,
not
I'll
even
give that
about
to you.
Oh my
retarded
God.
children.
In
It's
terms
about.
of trauma,
It's
or
about an
Yes.
evolutionary fear
agree.
response, right?
I'll give that to you.
Men
I have
and
no
women have
problem.
the
different
reason that
fear
women are retarded
responses.
children
Yeah.
is because we treat them like retarded children. So
Oh
if
my
you don't
gosh,
treat
guys,
them like
you're-
retarded children,
Exactly.
they'll learn to
So
not be
just let me
retarded
give you
children.
let me give you a breakdown. Let me give you a
Okay.
breakdown of some of the things that you're required to do in a combat zone or in kind of a even where you're kind of adjacent to a combat zone and things like that. Even for logistics jobs or even for like maintenance jobs and things like that, we would have to push multiple pounds equipment, things like that. It's a stressful, demanding, endurance-laden job, right?
Mhm.
And again, some women can hack it, but a lot of women can't, and that's
It's
just
just
the fact.
It's just
right?
like factory workers. There are women that work in the factory. Obviously, they can, but it's a majority of men, and men are just better suited to work in the factory. It doesn't mean women can't. It doesn't mean they're retarded. It doesn't mean they're infantile. It just means men are
No.
better suited for it. No?
No, and we put women in the roles that they are best suited to. That's what we should do, right? If
Yeah,
women, if,
But
if
the
we
role
know
that
a
women are
job-
best
if
suited
we-
to in general is
Is
being at
giving
home
birth.
and raising children.
It's not.
No.
No,
What are
it's
the roles
not.
that are best suited to?
It's
giving
not.
birth.
It's not the best role.
What are the
That is
rules?
a
What are
myth.
the rules?
The idea that women
Everything.
were meant to be at home and take care of kids is a myth. Women have worked all throughout history. 70% of the world's agricultural labor is
Yeah, but
made
they've
up of
never.
women.
Yeah, you're right, but they've never gone to war somehow.
Women are
You're
better
right. They have
employees.
they have worked, and they have
Women-
never had to go to war ever.
Yes, but women have worked in medical fields too, and women have been shown to be better than men in the medical field.
And
That's
so
also 'cause they
obvious,
choose to
there
work,
is
though. If we
there's
forced them to
also
work,
a
that probably
push
wouldn't be the case.
every
If they
single time there's a
choose to
war. There
work,
doesn't
why
have to be a
wouldn't we
draft
allow
because
them?
women volunteer, or
Why
they're
wouldn't we
socially
allow-
moved into
that
that.
is
position.
so
Allowing
bullshit.
people to
Service
choose,
for
allowing
women.
people to choose is one thing. So women choosing to work, maybe they're better at working. I don't know, whatever. But they're choosing to work. If you forced women to work, I don't think the statistic would be that
I
they are
think
better
most
workers.
women are forced to work.
Okay,
In the world,
no.
absolutely, most women
I'm-
are forced
I'm
to
at,
work.
like,
Literally
everybody.
everybody is forced to work. Literally everybody in an like capitalistic like economy is literally
Christ, it always
forced to
comes
work.
down to this. It always
Oh,
comes
okay.
down
Okay,
to capitalism.
can we
doesn't it?
can we go back to this fucking? We need to so like so many fucking retarded things that these people are just spewing. We keep
I think
moving
before
past.
women get drafted,
Let's get
men
back
who
to
live
this
in their
point.
parents' basement should get drafted.
Let's
Who
get-
needs them? Let's fucking
let's-
put them as fodder, dude.
Let's
Who
get
fucking
back.
needs them?
Okay, well, okay. Let's get back to okay. So do you think that if you get drafted, it means people are saying we don't need you or something? Like, let's get
Yes.
back to this retarded.
Yeah.
That is
okay,
part
so
of it.
That is it. You feel like insecure.
That is
about
absolutely
this or
part of
something.
it.
Okay. Well, we don't need you. Okay.
Smith, hold
Women
on.
are
Smith,
definitely
make
more
your
useful
point,
than men
please.
are in this case. You only need
Can
one
we
man.
get- Can we get back to
You only-
this
you
retarded
only
thing
need
that
one
we don't
woman.
need to draft? We don't need women to be included in the draft because women sign up anyways. Okay, so don't men sign up anyways, and not enough of them are signing up, and not enough women are signing up. In the case that we did have a draft, drafts are bad. I mean, sure, it's like we don't want that to happen, but if we did have a draft, it should be women are included in it. That is the point.
What
Your
percentage?
argument
Also-
there is a dismissal that is completely retarded and bullshit. You're just changing the topic. It's actually not
Also,
an
we're losing
engagement at
people
all.
in the
You're
military. We're
repeating
losing
it
people
over and
volunteering for the
over.
military because we are not
Okay,
fighting in any
We're
wars.
not gonna draft
Anytime we're
50-50.
fighting in a war,
Yeah.
the volunteer number goes up every single fucking time. We're not fighting in a fucking war
Okay,
right now.
well,
Obviously,
we're
there's not going to.
I'm going to suggest that we draft specifically Smith and 𝕬𝖎 just so that
can't.
they can do their whole
I can't.
no, it's not. Yes, it isn't. No, it's not.
I
Yes,
can't.
it isn't. Back and forth. Okay.
I'm on a fucking. I can't. I'm on a medication for anxiety. I can't even go into
You
the
both
fucking
can work
military.
in the cooks. Okay, you guys can.
I
Both work
can't
as
go into
cooks,
the
okay?
military,
Fine.
period, with a mental
can't.
health condition. And a lot of women have them. So I'm like, high neuroticism?
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's
There are a
fine.
lot
No,
of
that's
dudes
fine
that
to
are
me.
on
That's
those
fine to me.
rates.
Like
I don't know
that.
what that draft is going to look like.
That honestly, yeah, sure. Like, but even if that's the case, that is good for society that we even are acknowledging that is
What?
healthy.
No,
So,
that's
like, if
not. That's
the
not
only-
a good thing.
if
It's
the
so
only
that you.
women-
It's so that you don't go crazy and do like a Gomer Pyle faux metal jacket and like kill yourself in the fucking military. It's not
Okay,
like
yes,
for you.
No, I don't know what you think I'm saying, but what I'm saying that
Well, not to
yeah,
touch
we
on
shouldn't like people that like have like mental problems or whatever. They're taking drugs or whatever the fuck they don't have a foot.
Undiagnosed
They're flat
DMD.
feet. Those people
many
we don't
dudes
let in the
have
military for a reason.
Just FYI,
If there's
all
a
of
if there's
them.
a lot of women who cannot join the military because they're taking drugs or whatever, then having women sign up for the draft like makes that a social awareness type thing. If we had a draft and it was the case that only fucking 20% of women are mentally like fit enough to join the military, then like that highlights a dramatic like issue that we're having. And so
Well,
yeah,
then no draft?
maybe women are not able to handle the fucking stress and shit like of military, and it's not because they're women, it's because we have a society that like treats women like shit and traumatizes women and like fucking makes them retarded and crazy.
So
How
drafting
many
Do you
them-
think
men-
that?
how
Do you think
many-
that at a
how many men
baseline,
are
even
out
without
there-
nurture, men and
Okay.
women are the exact same?
No.
Also, wait a minute, guys. Part of the reason why women are diagnosed with more is because women go see doctors more also. So that is part of it. How many dudes are undiagnosed with personality disorders? I'm willing to say a whole lot of them. You guys are fucking psychopaths.
At least one on
okay?
the panel.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay. A couple things, right? So I've been sent some studies. This is from this is on NPR's website. It's from 2015. Okay, there's a Marine Corps study that studied the difference between a mixed units, right, of men and women, and all men units. Men units apparently were faster, more efficient, etc. When you mix them, there were some issues there. So again,
Okay.
given that there is at least some evidence to suggest that mixed combat units, especially, don't perform to the same standards as other units. And when I say combat units, I'm not just talking about frontline stuff, right? I'm talking about anyone who is in a combat zone.
Even holding a gun, grip strength differences are apparent in men and women. Like, even holding a gun, even the way you hold it.
Strength. Yeah.
So
Then,
again,
yeah,
you're
why
smashing
Even
not
though women are
regulate it?
actually
That's
better
fine.
shooters, women are actually better sharpshooters than men.
I don't know if that's true. or
I
not.
don't know if that's true.
I don't think that's true.
I
Well,
do
you
believe-
think you
I
hate
do
women,
believe
but that's
that-
actually true.
I do believe
True.
Okay, so from in a combat zone, probably it doesn't bear out, but when it comes to competitive shooting, women tend to shoot better than men. But that is, again, very different from a combat zone, right? So
Yeah, because
And it's
women
also
are too
because of
mentally
our fear
frail.
response is different.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't
I
think
mean,
women are
I
actually more
support
mentally frail than
aggregated
men. I
units
think
if
that's
what's
insane.
needed, right?
In combat,
Like,
You know that
like
women
life is
are
fucking combat.
also
Life is
more
traumatic.
likely to
Combat
worry
is very
themselves into
combat
having
is
a heart
very
attack.
traumatic.
so,
It's like
so men and women should be able to fight since they're not frail. You don't think they're that frail? So
how
if,
is so
if I
is
wanna-
this is a good demonstration of how you're like being incredibly bad faith this entire time. So like I
I'm
say that
literally
women are not born to be mentally frail like little fucking snowflakes that can't handle like fucking spilled milk.
Agreed.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay.
And so you're saying, but in combat, so if we push it to
War
the
is kind of like
extremes,
spilled
That's when you
milk when
put
you
it in
think about
if
it.
we push
Women
it,
would be
if we
more
push
frail
it to
than
the
men, yes.
extremes, if we push it to the extremes, women can't handle it, but men can't because they are mentally frail and they're actually less like mentally so you actually think that women are more mentally frail than men, and I don't
Dog,
think
if you want to paint me into being a misogynist, I really don't care.
No,
That's
like,
not,
'cause you're
in
trying to
terms of
escape
war,
it.
Yes.
you are one and you're trying to paint yourself as
In
not one.
terms of war, in terms
You're a
of combat, in
misogynist.
terms of fighting, yes, women would be more frail than men in that situation.
I don't agree.
Obviously.
Obviously not to
So
me.
then men and women should be able to fight since then you don't agree.
Fist fight?
Combat can be fist fighting.
Okay,
No,
I
but
see.
you should.
Gang,
no.
I see you
What
all
the fuck are you
backstage.
talking
I
about?
understand
It's
that you
insane.
all want a piece
But
of this, but this
How
is
did you move
enough,
from
right,
talking
for
about
now.
mental frailness to fucking fighting?
Because I
I
said in
don't-
terms of war, yes, I would say women are less or more mentally
Okay,
frail than men. in
women
terms of
fighting
war.
women,
In combat.
women fighting women. It does not traumatize either woman more than a
Women
man
are
fighting a
fighting
man.
in war, though. Women aren't fighting in war, though, are they?
A war of women against an army of women fighting an army of women. Those people
Why-
involved
okay,
in the war
stop.
are
Hold
not
on.
going to be more traumatized
Stop. This
than
is
an
all
army of men
nonsense.
fighting an army of men.
This is all
When there's a-
nonsense.
when there's two
Hold
armies
on.
of women
We aren't going to
talk
have.
me.
Stop, all of you. We're not going to have Amazonian
It's-
battles between
That's
women
what I'm
versus women,
saying.
then boys
It's a
versus boys.
hypothetical.
What
It's a
we're going to
bad
start talking
hypothetical.
about here, right?
It's
is the
not a realistic one.
Yeah, is the
Who fucking
effect
cares?
of
Fuck you.
allowing women.
Oh no,
Steph,
you're
please.
you love Mr. Girl. You do everything he does. It is so
Allowing-
annoying.
You just
It's so crazy to
anything
even
you can,
watch.
anything
Stop,
you can.
stop,
You just
oh my
want to
God,
fucking
stop.
throw dirt on me to just fucking tarnish
Stop, let me
anything.
finish
that's
my
like,
goddamn
You're
point.
doing the fuck you thing just like him. Like, you're so weird.
What? I'm just
Be
standing up for
normal.
myself. I'm standing up for myself, and you're telling me that I'm being Mr. Girl because I'm standing up for myself.
No, it's the way that you're doing it. It's like so. It's so
Oh my God,
Maxian.
I'm going
I'm
to-
genuinely
I'm going to
emotional. Do
rejoin
you
the
think that
military
I'm
just so I can
trying
put
to?
myself
I'm
in a
trying
combat
to.
Maybe you
zone
guys
for
just
somebody
both
else.
have the same fucking
Super
BPD.
off
Quick
topic.
question
That's it.
for
Maybe
you.
I'm not even trying.
all of
Can I
you,
say,
right?
I don't think. Can I just weigh in really quickly on this one thing?
Oh my
just
God,
really quick.
Stardust.
Wait, please. Okay.
Stardust.
I do not. Please, Wick. I barely weighed in on them talking about it. Please.
Quickly.
Okay. All right. I do not think that women are more mentally frail than men. I think women are more traumatized than men because they live traumatizing lives, and men are fucking crazy. But I don't think women are more mentally frail. I think what it is, you imagine bleeding out of your penis for a week, every day for the rest of your life, at once a month. Okay, that itself was traumatizing from the age of 10. All right, and let's not even like talk about the rest of society. All right, society is very
Let's talk
traumatizing.
about.
I think men are
Let's talk
actually much
about.
weaker than women.
Let's
mentally.
talk about the effects on society and the military both by requiring this, right? Obviously, for good or ill, we can acknowledge that making women sign up to potentially be drafted
Women.
will have an impact on how society views both women and the military. What are some ways that it'll be positive? What are some ways that it'll be negative? What are we thinking? And again, I'll get to all the super chats, I promise you. And I see you all backstage, I promise you. But come on,
it's not gonna change anyone's views on the sexes, especially if they're still going into sexed positions, gendered positions. It's just going to take women away from their homes, their communities. There's going to be less pregnancy. There's going to be less children. There's going to there's going to be more rape in the military because there are more women joining the military.
So actually, I think since it seems to be like maybe majority of men want this to be a thing, I think if this actually gets enacted, women are going to start seeing men as weaker, since like men want women to be in the military, like they already don't like that. So to be drafted,
and then every man is going to be like Smith.
No.
I actually think that, people tend to have a lot of respect for people who work in service positions in the military. People have a lot of respect for people who work in medical positions in the military, including other military members. Other military members, like if you guys remember, a few days ago, there's this TikTok that was posted on Twitter where people were making fun of these cooks that were dancing in the military, and a whole bunch of military people jumped in to be like, hey, don't do that. These are people who do a lot of work and you don't fuck with them, and so I do think more women being involved in roles that they are best suited for, right? Again, we have to reform the draft lottery as a whole, right? But once we reform the lottery system and make it based, pulling people who are the best suited for each role, I think that we would see women being respected and seen as more capable of different things. So
you just said the military guys defended them from the normies that were making fun of them. So technically, only military would respect them, and then the normies would still find them.
No, I think the military would military members do. People have respect for veterans, right? They would inform people and influence them. Okay, I like veterans, so.
But I don't know if people have respect for them. Like, how many veterans do we have that are homeless and poor and, so on and so forth. So it's like, do people respect them, or do people just oh, you fought for me, yay?
That's a societal problem, and we need to fix that, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm kind of saying to your point, that I don't think people respect military that much. I think some people do. I think a sect of people do.
I think we don't have enough after military medical care for people, right? So
I think that if we have a society, if we have a society that wants women to have to sign up for the draft, that means that we have a society where we think that women have the discipline and the mental fortitude. We believe that women are disciplined and have mental fortitude. We're going to hold them to those standards, not treat them like children. We're like, that is the chances of that society electing a woman as president is far higher. So I think that when we get to that point, it will mean that we have so much more respect for women.
We already did almost have a woman president, though. So
no. I also think that more women in this group in the military would actually normalize women in the military more, and might even reduce rapes actually, because there would be more women who are in positions of power, enforcing things. People would have to respect women more.
Men just rape. You can't do anything. To stop rape. It just happens.
No, but men just rape. But a lot of the times, what happens when men rape is they go.
Hold on. Men don't just rape. We can.
I just did it just now while you were talking.
Look, we can obviously put things in place and do different things to reduce.
Yeah, we could live in a surveillance state to stop rape.
So men.
We can feed men the estrogen that Smith is taking.
Oh my God.
We can put women.
Men do rape, but with more women in the military, that would
more women to rape.
No, what happens is when men rape in the military, as it is right now, a lot of men get away with it. With more women in the military, we would have less.
They're going to get away with raping more women.
It would take longer.
Literally, it's the military.
And taking women seriously.
It's the military.
In a position of power, she is going
We've
to
never seen men take women seriously about rape ever before. I don't know why this.
Well, if we want to start taking them seriously, we should have them sign up for the draft.
Just like the Me Too movement.
It is
just like how the Me Too movement.
That was literally just my point that I was just saying. I'm saying that society is going to take women. It's the military. You can
specifically benefited from the Me Too movement. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's the military. Don't go down some
talking about
tangent. don't go down her tangents. It's the military. You can discipline people far harsher than a normal society. If it's the military, you actually, it's actually like not unacceptable to do a surveillance state thing on your fucking military people. Like the military, you have less rights.
Cameras in the barracks, and they still fucking
get away with it.
Yeah, and they should not get away if you rape and like have.
Okay, I don't think anyone here.
Nobody in the military is like, oh yeah, they did a rape. Like they still have the same like this isn't okay attitude. It's not like they're like rape is okay.
In positions of superior power, then yes, those women are going to take accusations of rape more seriously.
Yeah, because that's what we know about. That's what we know about society in general, is that all women believe all women.
No, not all women, but more women will take it seriously.
You're just saying female representation doesn't matter. So like whatever. It's like
when it comes to fighting a war, does it?
No, representation doesn't matter.
Okay.
When it comes to fighting a war, that's an honest question. Does representation matter? Why?
No.
Yeah. Having more female senators is better.
We should have disabled soldiers
having more female officers
is
better.
Soldiers, and we should have.
I don't care.
Why is it better? Why is it better?
Guys, I don't care about the representation thing in the military, right? It's not media. Media is what I care about when it comes to representation.
That's not what I was talking about.
No, but I'm responding to Wick's question. Wick, yes. Representation, it's not about representation, why we should have women sign up for selective service. It is about broadening the pool of the best eligible people for the roles that are needed in the military. I can't see a downside of picking people who are most. So
then there shouldn't be a draft.
So you think power.
So you think there shouldn't be a draft, and we should just pick people from our communities?
That's a draft.
It's a draft. That is a draft.
That's not a draft in how we even understand it in America. You're asking for a state in which
I've had to correct you guys multiple
times. How do we find people to draft them now? Because if you don't want to do the name out of a hat thing, how do we draft?
She was trying to explain this to you.
I already explained this.
Explain it to me again.
You'd have your resume with the military.
When we drafted people in the Vietnam War, only 25% of the people drafted were in the front line.
Hold on. Stop. Okay, Stardust, you said that you would like to reform the draft and reform the lottery system in particular. So my question and last question to you is how?
Okay, so as we know that like the lottery right now for the draft, or at least how it has been done in the past, is that they have like a bowl with like a bunch of numbers, 1 through like 365, I believe. And depending on the number they pull, that is the date of birth. All the people who are of that date of birth are put up eligible for draft, right? We need to reform that. We shouldn't be doing a random drawing system. We're going to get like, the freakiest people, from that.
So now we're just people who deserve to die. So we're just do a draft of poor people first, black people.
That's not.
Let's start us finish. Let's start us decide. Tell us how. If not random,
I hate you.
If not random, then how? What criteria?
So the lottery, this whole lottery system, I don't think is right. I think when somebody signs up for selective service, I'm sure the government has a database of who everybody who signed up, right? We look at the people, what they're up to, their education, what they have worked in, right? And see, who is going to be best suited for a specific job. Can somebody make like 2,000 meals every morning easily? Can they be part of a team that does that? Then we select those people, right?
So poor black people are going to be in the military.
When those units when we form those units, we form those units based on, I think, if we have a bunch of like cooks, for example, that probably those units itself should be sex segregated, right? But like doctors, service workers, etc., right? We choose the people who are going to be the best for those roles. We will still have a huge amount of people over the age of 26 who are excellent in their careers, excellent at their jobs, who are still serving the rest of society.
So the issue with that is that the reason we have a draft is if it's a backup plan. if we need people to go to war that aren't already in the military, then we're going to pick out of this random pool of people who are capable, 18 to 24-year-old men. These men are typically going to be capable for most roles that are filled, and they're not the best of our society. What you're saying is we have a military, and then when we have a draft, the people that are the best people in our societies end up going and getting drafted because they're the best at their jobs, they're the best or whatever.
No, what she ends up saying is that it's the people who are the most expendable. So then it becomes black people,
least expendable.
People.
She's saying least expendable. She's saying whoever's best.
No, you don't send a good doctor to fucking war.
That's
what
my point is.
A good teacher to war. Who you send to war, and that's why the lottery is the only thing that makes sense in a draft, is because it's fair. Otherwise, we're just going to find poor people to catch bullets in the fucking.
We don't need the most capable.
So.
You just need capable.
Again, the draft. Again, guys, the draft. Even when you do drafts, people who are drafted themselves, again, only 25% of them.
I'm not talking about front lines. I'm talking about capable of anything. So, like, so cooks, chefs, nurses, doctors. The reason we have it as a lottery system is because men 18 to 24, on average, are going to be the most capable in the military and filling any one of these roles.
And keep in mind, these are not volunteers. These are people who we are coercing under penalty of law, right?
So
to do this. So again, I'm just curious, right?
No.
The reason it's a random system is because, as Lav said, and I'm going to agree with Lav, God help me.
You do every single time, and every single time you make a big fuss about it. Shut the fuck up! I'm based, and you're mad about it.
There's a random element because it has to be a random element to it. Right.
I can see that. I can see, yeah.
And the pool you're pulling from has to be generally capable of doing all roles. You're not selecting who fits the best role. In your system, it would take too long to draft anybody. We wouldn't be able to do the draft because we'd be too busy reading through resumes.
And the government would know way too much about our lives.
That part.
I just think that we should. I think regarding women, like I don't think we need to do it. I don't think we need to do it like so specific with every single person or like every. But it just with women is like, okay, well, like we need like 15.
Oh, so women get special treatment?
Yeah,
a little bit. Because
what, you don't fucking respect women?
No, I just don't think there's a
women are so fucking retarded.
No, they're just not as strong. They're just not as strong. They're just not as strong. So all I'm saying is, yes, that's what I've said. I've been consistent. So if you need 15 cooks, like, and we have, if we're gonna draft like a whole bunch of people, and we're drafting a ton of women, it's like, okay, send the women to be the cooks. That's all.
Why?
It's like
why would we choose them?
Because they're not as strong.
Men are probably more capable to be cooks during wartime than women in cooks during war.
Exactly. That's the part that I do agree that women are not as strong. I don't agree that women are like mentally frail. I don't agree with that.
Again, it's not about mentally frail. Okay, so wait. So you're in a war zone. You're in a war zone. The infantry gets attacked.
What does mentally frail even fucking mean?
Not able to put up with the fucking like trauma of war. I think that women are just as capable of it as men.
Guys, it's not about that. It's about that we have different fear responses. We do different things when we're scared.
I understand.
Reaction times are different. It's all different.
I understand that my thing about reforming the lottery, I understand the problems with it, right? But at the same time, by expanding the people who are required to sign up for selective service, we are making more capable men available for the front line because probably won't have enough.
We only need 15%, right?
Capable is capable. Capable is capable. You don't need more capable.
Also, I'm going to tell you, recon Marines who do majority of the fucking legwork are going there volunteer based. They're not people who got fucking drafted.
Again, we don't know in the future if we will need. Guys, we don't know in the future if we will need more than 15%. We don't know.
We won't. We have fucking nuclear weapons. We won't.
But that's why you just keep drafting men, because the men on average are going to be capably suited for all the roles.
Okay, I have another question. Stop.
Why wouldn't you expand the amount of able-bodied men?
You don't need to.
I don't want to mute people, but I will mute people. I have another question. This is to Lav and to Ollie. Okay. One of the things, one of the reasons that is given that men are required to sign up for the draft is because men or at least people are seen to owe a duty to their country. Their country protects them, and at least the young men are seen to owe a duty of care to their country. This is something that there is responsibility to put their lives on the line if required to, right, in order to protect the nation. Given that that's the case for men, what would you suggest there be for women? If you don't think that the draft is appropriate for that, should there not be a responsibility that women have, that women are
Give birth.
expected to fulfill?
They already
So
have
it's
that
not a
responsibility.
draft.
They do.
Give
What it
birth.
is? What is it?
They
Yes,
shape,
we already-
they shape and mold society. So as men, we'll work out and we'll provide and we'll go to war. Women are the ones that are keeping the kids safe, raising our kids, like raising the young men of the future. They're protecting and nourishing society and molding society and shaping it. That's their responsibility to our society. Whereas our responsibility is typically to protect and provide. We build, they mold.
Yeah, we have gender roles that
But
that
that's
work.
not required by law, right? Like,
yeah,
so the
I
difference
think-
between, hold on,
yeah.
if I may, the difference between the draft, right, for men and what you're talking about for women, the truth of it aside, is that there is a legal requirement that men
They
This is
still-
actually
they
beautiful.
Still would. So the draft is a forcing factor, right? So like we're not choosing to go to war. We get drafted to go to war. When we're in these war times, when the men are at war, women are going to have to keep society running. And so therefore that's their responsibility. It may not be a legally granted responsibility, but
you
if all
see
the
the
men are gone,
difference. You see
It's just
the
as binding. It's
asymmetry.
just as
it's
binding.
just as important. We go to war.
It's just
they-
as
they
important,
keep-
but it's not just as binding. It's not.
well, I mean,
Okay.
how
It
do
is
you-
just as
how do you
binding,
ma- how do you legally
but it
mandate
also
that?
it's not as, first of all, it is just as binding, but it's not legally so, and that's because we're not. It's really hard to convince people to potentially go die for something that they don't feel like is worth dying for, which is why it has to be legal, because there has to be a level of force. There doesn't have to be the same level of force in getting women
and
to
it's a last
create
case
children.
scenario. It's
Yeah,
not like
everybody
it's
wants
a
to have
last
kids.
case.
I
It's a
think a
last
lot of
case
women are
scenario.
waking
So
up.
Just do
Well, in-
whatever. Just live your
in-
life like a normal human, and then you're doing your thing. You don't have any. We don't hold you to any standard.
Well,
or
I think
anything.
that there should definitely be a social molding of, I think especially now more than ever, to a social push to get women to have children, to say that this is your responsibility as well, like
Okay.
to
So-
carry
Just,
on the
like,
race.
the way that I would do that is I would make it so that the economy is good enough so that people under the age of 26
The economy is gonna stay bad and good for some people forever. We live in a
Yeah.
free market. We live in a mixed
Mhm.
market.
Economy's
You
the
should
economy.
just be less lazy. You should just
I
be less
think
lazy, and you should get a better job that's
Don't
more
fucking
challenging
shake
and better
your
for
head.
you. If you want money, then you should go make money, just like how every single person in
Okay.
the world is making money somehow, but you can't shake
yeah.
it and you blame the world for it. That
Well,
sounds
I
like
have a
you
job.
problem.
I have a job.
That
I have
sounds
a
like
job,
a
and I'm
skill
making
issue.
money.
Question, Wick,
I
I'd love
have a
to
job and I'm
respond
not.
to
I'm
it.
making money. I can't foresee
your-
having a house in like I
Smash.
Then
like
get
in
a
any
better
A better
job.
job.
Okay, enough
would
of
like
this
to
economy
respond to
talk.
Wick's
Enough of this
question.
economy
Move
talk.
to a different place that's less expensive and get a
Stardust,
better
what's your
job.
question?
Yeah.
Easy.
I would like to respond to your
I
question.
would
Wick.
talk about this, but let's
Okay,
continue.
Stardust, what's
Yes.
your answer to this?
So I do think if you guys are completely against women being required to sign up for selective service, then I do think that women should be required to sign up at least for like volunteer work or something like that.
Sure.
If needed, right? But honestly, in recent years, I don't think I would have thought this before, but like I think in recent years I've come around to the idea that maybe a lot of people like a lot of young people actually maybe should be required to volunteer in some sort of way, just like by law, like regardless of draft. But in regards to like women's jobs being like to have kids and raise kids, we spend a third of our lives postmenopausal. Our lives are not meant to just have kids and raise kids, right? A third of our lives are postmenopausal. That is past the age of being able to have kids.
So it's
We do
society's
other
kids
things
as
in
well.
society.
Yeah, we
Society's kids
don't
as
stop
well.
raising our kids after they become
No,
adults.
but
We
we-
help raise their children and their children.
We
and
do
it's
other things in society too, though, right? We
Yeah.
we
Sure.
have the ability to do plenty in society, and I'm tired. I'm tired of like the raising of children being solely women's responsibility, because it's men's responsibility too.
Well, we're talking
So
about
hold on,
wartime,
hold
so
on,
men
hold
are
on,
getting
hold on,
drafted.
hold on,
More
hold on,
time.
hold on. I've been paid $100, so in about 10 minutes, we're gonna bring a couple people on. Okay, just FYI, I'm letting you know.
Raising kids is a privilege that I would like to be able to have instead of being forced to go to war.
I
and
think we
die.
should. I think men who
Are
can't
you
hold a
dra- are
stable
you a-
job
are you
should
a
be
draft aide?
forced to be
Are you a
units.
draft aid, Smith?
I think we should we should force.
I should be
units.
forced to marry a CEO, and then I'll be all set.
I do think that women
You're
are
so
superior
mad.
to men.
Are
I,
you
like,
of draft
unironically
age,
believe that.
Smith?
No, I'm 30.
Hold on, what?
So then what the fuck do you...
You're basically a postmenopausal woman at this point.
Okay, maybe hold on. We've lost the plot. So I guess for those countries, like let's take it away from America for a minute. And this is to Lav and Ollie. For those countries who do have mixed service drafts and service requirements for like Israel is a great example. In Ukraine, I'm not sure if they have started mandatorily requiring women yet or not. I'd have to look into that. But Israel definitely does.
Yeah.
Would you advocate that they stop that practice? Do you think that that's something they should quit? Why?
Wasn't like one of the big things for October 7th when Hamas attacked and they attacked the civilians? One of the arguments was that, well, these people had served 2 years in the military, so therefore they're not civilians. They were part of the military for X amount of years. So I feel like if you include women into a draft and you force them into your military, you kind of remove that civilian label from them, and now they're just, they're militants you can attack. That's not a good thing.
Military.
Doesn't matter. They served for 2 years, so they're part of that military. They're trained. They know how to use the weapons. They can go back. That is a problem. You remove the civilian label from those people when forcing them to be in military for 2 years. It's not good.
I don't know that I agree with that. I think that that's kind of just like justifying what happened to them, right?
No, I literally that's what I'm saying. Hamas gave that.
He's just saying it was consequential.
So it's a problem.
Sure.
It's a problem that they could use that label. You remove the label of civilian in those times. That's kind of what we're talking about. You put women
we
in.
shouldn't give that to them. Why should we give that to them?
Well, we're not. That's
Well,
just
also, I don't think Israel only did that because they were such a small population. So they had to. Now they're a less small population, so they don't really need to do a draft. They don't. Women don't even need to be in the Israeli
again,
military,
it's not a
especially
draft specifically. It's a
that's what
mandatory
conscription. I meant.
I was just saying. I was saying to me that removes civilian label, which it shouldn't. But like to people that are attacking you, how do you tell them that, right?
But I mean, like we talked about briefly before. I think that people should be forced to volunteer to some extent. I don't know if it's the military, but forced to volunteer, sure. Like if it's just even feeding your community or stuff like that. I mean, that certainly can be a way to, if you want to call that military, then sure, I believe in a draft, but that's not really what we're talking about when we talk about military.
Approach, right?
Because but that's not what we're talking about when we talk about military. When we talk about military conscription, you could be placed anywhere.
Let's talk about.
I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that draft.
Oh, okay. Well, you believe in the same draft that I believe in. Like just like South Korea, you have mandatory military service.
That's not how a draft works.
Everybody literally has to like work for the military like for a number of years in South Korea. You get job training. You do all kinds of shit or whatever. It's really healthy for their society. Just like forcing them to do volunteer work, and then and everybody else. And it doesn't take away their fucking civilian status.
Okay, so yes, I agree with the draft if we completely change the draft. Yes, but we're not arguing on those conditions. We're arguing on the conditions, the American conditions, which are not what you're talking about. Your dream world doesn't exist. So if we change what the draft is fundamentally, then yes, I agree with it. But that's not what we're fucking arguing.
Just change it to include women. Change it to include women, and just don't put women in roles where there's physical like high demands where life and death's on the line if you're weak. Easy
not forced to volunteer. I meant forced to do service.
Okay, at this point, gang.
Just a sec.
At this point, before I let other people on, I want to give each of you to have some final thoughts on this. But then I'll start bringing a couple other people in by onesies and twosies. So if you've been molding in chat, and again, someone paid me enough money to open this up, so just jump backstage, gang, and I'll get you as we can. I will give special privileges to people who are combat veterans, as well as women. If you are a woman and who's served in the military, you'll get a little bit of a jump in the line.
But you have to have a non-combat role in the conversation.
Smath, give us your brief closing, please.
I think that like Lav's already agreed with me. Like just put women in roles that make sense, and I disagree.
Change the draft.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about doing.
So that's not even a draft as we know it. How
the only differences are including women, and then like making and just like prioritizing women for roles that are not like strength dependent. my last thoughts. I think that a lot of the arguments against this hinge on women either what I'm defining as mentally are being either what I defined as being mentally frail, which I don't think they are, or saying that their ideal role is to like have children and that's what they do for society. I think that it's a luxury to have children and it's something that I would be lucky to be able to do. And I like I said, like I think the way you do that is like economy. I don't think that joining the military is a luxury. Like people like might talk about it like that, but it sucks. And I think that we all need to do our part.
Okay. Let's go to Lav. Final thoughts before we open this shit show up and make a little more money.
Yeah, I think more so than talking about, whether or not females should be forced into, military conscription, we should talk about why it would be better for America to force conscribe being a eunuch for men like Smith. I think that would do more for society positively. And that could solve more issues than potentially adding women into the military for America.
Sounds fun.
Okay. Ali, what you got?
Yeah, so I didn't really hear any positive reasons as to why women joining the draft or being part of the draft nothing made sense. I think the way we have it is kind of ideal. People who want to join already do, and if at any point in time we have a last resort and we need to have a draft, we should probably draft the most capable men. And then if we're like, it would make no sense to sit here and sift through and find a percentage of capable women just to say that like women are part of the draft. Unless we're drafting 50-50, which we're not going to, it just makes no sense to have them as part of the draft.
In a war, imagine we're like literally about to go to war and we're like, guys, think about equality. Guys, everyone, guys, think about how women would feel right now. Like, it's retarded.
Okay. Stardust, what you got?
Okay, so it's not even entirely about equality, though. Having women, required to sign up for selective service is going to at least like make us, equal before the law, even if in practice we do it differently, right? Calling for women to register for selective service and making it required to do so is, it's recognizing that our roles are changing and that we're expanding a pool of eligible citizens. And we're not only doing that, but we're also enhancing the nation's overall readiness for defense. And so you have this expanded pool of people. You now have way more people, super eligible people. You can now delegate more able-bodied men to combat roles. We can expand the number of men who are in those combat roles. I don't see why we wouldn't pull the best of the best for these different roles, the most efficient people.
Okay. And with that, gang, onesies and twosies, we'll see. Okay. We got 2 combat veterans, or at least military, ex-military in here. We got Alex Kirsch, and we got Ranger and Rogue. Go ahead. What are your thoughts here? First of all, I guess I'll ask this: do you think women should be required to sign up for selective service?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Ranger, what you got?
No. Draft is something completely separate. I'm here to fucking dispel some of the misinformation in regards to females in combat roles. That is an entirely different conversation. Probably shouldn't even be in here.
Oh, well, it is. So here we are, gang. Okay, so let me hear why you think to Alex, why you think that women should be required to sign up.
Because we already have women that are going to serve in combat roles. We already know that if women are going to be capable of serving in roles, like, for example, because what people don't understand is like when people bring up like frontline stuff, the most heavily hit units in the Iraq-Afghanistan theater were actually transportation units. So if we're going to expect women to actually be able to serve in the military and whatnot, and if they show they can serve, then why not actually have them, sign the selective service? There's no other reason. You either have everybody sign up for the selective service or you just get rid of the draft in general.
Ranger?
What's the percentage of women who'd sign up for service.
What does it matter?
So like because then you're selecting for like out of the women, those would be the ones that are capable, that feel themselves capable, are capable, and are willing to do that. Versus like if you're just pulling from like the general pool of women, they're probably not going to be suited for that, right?
What are you talking about, dude? You're not making. What argument are you making exactly?
Okay, so let's just say there's 10 women who joined the military, right? Those women chose to do it. They deemed themselves capable. They went through the training. They want to do it. Now, if you pull 10 women from a random pool of 100 women, they're probably not going to be capably suited to fit to be in the military, right?
Well, it depends what role they go into. Honestly, I mean, it really.
Well, no,
because
it doesn't matter the role. We lowered the PT standards 80 fucking times for women, dude. The women can't go 3 days in the fucking field without having to get escorted back to base to get a fucking shower. When we're sitting in the field for a total, yes, it's 1,000,000% fucking true. What are you talking about? What are you, an 88 Mike? I'm telling you right now. Regardless,
fill the fuck out.
Congrats. Field training exercises, maximum of 10 to 14 days, where you go play military in the woods somewhere. Females literally cannot go into the field without getting escorted back to base to get a fucking shower. Google it. Everyone in the audience, fucking Google it right now.
Oh, you want me to fucking Google everything, you fucking asshole? Come on.
Are you guys just gonna fight? Like, hold on. Stop.
Do they matter?
Understand this.
If you have comments for the panel and stuff like that, please, right? Like, if you have questions with the panelists, I'm gonna prioritize that. So go ahead.
Yeah.
No. Yes. We got more people.
No. Well, my question is though, like, if you're gonna try, okay. If the argument is that women should not serve on the front lines, where are the front lines essentially? Because like during the global war on terror, like Iraq and Afghanistan, there was no real front lines. The battlefield was essentially everywhere.
That goes
anyone that leaves the wire.
That goes to the point of not drafting women. Period. Right? Because again, you cannot guarantee that they won't be on the front lines and see combat.
You don't have to. You don't like when you get drafted. Just because you get drafted does not necessarily mean you'll see combat.
Let's just send women to death. Let's just do it.
Said that.
Good holy
Lab, you've not been taking this shit seriously. The only person been taking this shit seriously is Stardust. I'm sorry. She's the only
how
person.
How do you take an argument this retarded seriously?
Holy fucking shit,
sweetheart. Okay, this is not your fucking field of view. Okay, go talk about something else. All right.
You don't even know your own field of view.
I don't know if this is yours.
I know
either,
my fucking field of view, guy.
God, good thing I'm fucking here. Holy shit.
Or what?
Or what? you would reaffirm the retarded talking points that are getting spewed.
What?
Okay, what are you most frustrated about here, Ranger?
Pretty much everyone on the fucking panel, other than top left. Not really sure. I've never heard him speak. Might be cool, might not be. Not really sure.
What the fuck did I do?
Let's say me and Levin on the same side.
Pretty much everyone else on this fucking panel talking about like fucking medics. Only women go to fucking medics and everything. Like, dude, fucking most of medics are combat arms. Most of medics are fucking combat arms. They go to the line. And one of the biggest fucking things in combat, when you do leave the wire and you are on mission, is that shit does go south. You do have to carry really heavy fucking shit. And when someone can't carry their shit, the next person has to pick up the slack. And we have to do this over and over again. In regards to fucking medics.
Nurses and doctors, right? I didn't say medics. Medics, of course, are going to go out and get people.
What was the thing that you said, though? That surgeons, the best surgeons shouldn't be going to war? The best surgeons should be going to war. They absolutely should be going to war. They should stay on Kandahar. They should stay on the bigger fucking bases where they are safe and they can operate on the fucking people that are getting medevac back. Holy shit. Like, you guys don't understand the fucking military, and you're fucking...
It's the best surgeon isn't necessarily the best surgeon for the military, is what I think that you're saying.
They're
like,
a woman.
Even if a woman is like a good, even if you're top of your game as a woman surgeon in the real world, still you could not be equipped to be a surgeon in the military. So it could just like you just are just not as suited.
At the end of the day,
it's not that it's too scary. We have different fear responses.
Wait,
it's too scary. That's literally too scary.
Okay. Ranger, I have to ask, were you listening to like anything that came out of my mouth?
The majority of the panel I was listening to, I wasn't writing down every stupid thing that was being said, but
okay, so
generally,
I didn't say medic. All right, I understand that is one thing that I refrain from saying. People who have to go out and get injured people, probably not going to have a woman go out and do that.
That's
I have a
another
medic friend
thing.
who was in
Like,
that.
dude, people are fucking heavy. You're gonna carry me 220 pounds plus 80-pound rock plus my IOTV.
Ranger,
Plus
have
my
a man
fucking
carry
weapon.
people.
Everybody,
You're gonna
have a
carry
man-
all that
Guys
shit.
can't carry
Ranger,
220
I
pounds.
agree with you, you fucking idiot. You
Yeah.
fucking retard. I agree with you. I never said that.
But you're prescribing that you want women to join combat arms. You want women to join the fucking military into combat arms in the front line. What do you think the front line is?
Shut the fuck up, bro. I'm talking about doctors and nurses who are working on people who are already brought in. I'm not talking about
Oh,
people.
good. Good point. 0.007% of the military. Good.
Have two women. Have
Alright.
two women carry then.
Okay.
Like, so like if we're drafting them, just have, like we're gonna have a whole bunch
Oh
of
yeah,
people.
because
Just
because
have two
that's
women carrying them.
efficient. That's efficient because
Okay.
everyone knows when someone goes down in the middle of a road and you suppress the fire and you go and get that person. The person getting them isn't definitely the most prime
Okay,
fucking target for the sniper or the IED or anyone fucking that's
Four.
watching
That's why
the
take care.
person that
That's why
initially
Four
that's why
went
they
women.
down.
treat care under fire is
Ranger,
important.
Enough.
Rounds
You-
down
you
range.
could have been
Everybody
like-
fucking
Enough.
knows that.
Enough.
Right. so
Ranger-
you want to
Ranger-
pay four
Okay.
women to carry one person instead of
Yeah.
one guy to drag
Sometimes
them
that's
from a
what it-
fucking
what
raptor
it
strap.
Isn't
Hey, you know what?
It doesn't
Ranger,
really matter.
Ranger,
How is that
you
advantageous?
I'm
How
not-
is
I'm
that
not-
you are
I'm not
going
serious.
out of your way and the
Asking.
only reason is to be like for equality? Like
It's not
why
the
would
subject.
why
It's the
what's
four
the
women is a
reason?
joke.
What's the
It's
reason?
It's anti-misogyny.
Okay.
The four women is a
Ranger,
joke.
you know what you could have done, Rangers? You could have come into my chat and been like, hey, Stardust, can you clarify this? And I would have said, you know, there are like medical hospitals, there are like places we take injured people to. We can certainly have women staff there. We can certainly have women staff in
Why?
areas.
Wait,
that are
yeah,
not
because
combat.
because in wartime we know that hospitals are safe.
Oh my God. Not only that, but we have cops and we have fobs, all right? Outside the wire little bases that get overrun fucking constantly. Constantly. Do you have any idea what happens to female POWs? They get fucking brutally raped hundreds of times. Not once, hundreds of times by hundreds of different men. They get transported all over the place, raped over and over and over again.
There goes my monetization, but fair.
Sorry.
No, it is what it is. Okay. Thanks for calling in. I think we've made our points.
But do you think that nurses
Dying
like,
is
in
worse
the
than being raped.
average- Do you guys think? do you guys
being
think
killed is
that-
being worse than being raped.
Do you guys think that like do you
Repeatedly,
think that,
hundreds
do you
of
guys
times? I
think
don't think so.
Yes.
that
yes.
nurses
I
who
don't think so.
work in the medical field normally don't have to lift human bodies?
They do, but it's easier for the men.
Wait.
who work
Wait.
in the
Have you
field.
ever been to a hospital because they get any male to come do
Wait,
that?
we had a short.
There
Wait,
are
no,
tons
that
of-
is true.
there are
That is true.
tons of nurses. There are tons of female nurses who help lift bodies or
They
lift them by
built
themselves.
machines for
Hold on.
they built machines for this, and
They
any
build
single time
machines for
We
I'm
had a
108
shortage.
pounds,
Really
they
fast
still
people.
got
hired-
two
we
male
hired-
nurses to lift
They're
it.
really
We
fat people,
overhired
yes,
male
they built
doctors. The
machines.
male nurses came up crazy over the past few years because specifically for the lifting, for the holding, for the shit that requires strength. There are so many male nurses now that were required, that were needed in the field because the women couldn't do it.
Yeah, but we have tons of nurses,
Sure, that doesn't
female
change.
nurses who still have been.
Yeah, I don't.
doing
Do you
it
know what a
when men
nurse
were in
does?
the
Nurses
field.
basically, female nurses change like bedpans and put needles in you. Like
They
male
also lift
nurses.
people. They also
I don't
lift
know why
people.
any of this means
Okay.
that women
Female
shouldn't have to
Okay,
join the
are
draft.
not-
okay, enough.
Stardust.
We're going to recenter it. We're going to recenter it. Stop.
That's a negative.
We're going to recenter on the draft and the military service and things like that. And we have two new guests who are going to weigh in. I'm going to give it to Daedalus first, and then I'm going to give it to Artemis. Daedalus, do you have a comment or a question for the panel specifically? Go ahead.
Well, I have more of a comment.
Oh, I can't hear you at all.
He's a little slow.
Just
on
get
my
close
side,
to your
but I
mic.
can't.
Just get closer.
How about now? Better?
Super
I'll
low.
turn you up on my side.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
while
turning you up.
you're fixing that, while you're fixing your audio because we can't hear you, let's go to Artemis. Artemis.
Hi,
what you have?
Stardust.
Hi, Artemis. How's it going?
Not bad. Hey, I got a question for all of you. Is the question about women in the draft, is this an equality argument, an efficiency argument, or a standards-based argument?
For me, it's based on expanding the pool of people so we can pick the most eligible people for each role. And of course, you know, women are most likely not going to be in those combat roles. I do want to clarify one thing somebody said in chat. Somebody says, having been in combat arms, we didn't have doctors and surgeons on the front lines.
You don't.
Precisely my point in that we're bringing females in to fill roles so we can free more men up for more combat-based roles. So
I want to hear mostly actually from what's your name, Smith.
Yeah. For me, it is standards. When you say standards, you mean
Yes.
like a moral, ethical?
No,
Right.
like military standards.
Um,
So equality would be a moral, ethical. So standards is a actual capability. The efficiency argument would be the ability for the military to pull from the general population.
it is a equality and an efficiency, but it's not a standards.
Okay. Do you know what the purpose of the military is for?
To destroy and eliminate threat and protect the country.
In the most effective manner possible, right?
Yes.
Because you don't want to have a military that.
Yeah, the joke
Soviet
about
Union.
2 women or 4 women carrying somebody was a joke.
I was actually haven't been here for the conversation. I was just letting you guys argue amongst yourselves. I'm coming in this fresh just to hear it directly from you. That way, there's no like screaming going on. So you can keep going. I just so when we're talking about equality and you said a efficiency based argument. The issue is that a standard based argument should be the primary focus of a military. Because if it is combat ineffective, it is worthless.
The standards come into play for me when selecting who to go for what role. Like so I have so the standards should be in play. Like I was saying. So if a firefighter is going to save my life and he's axing through walls, I really want it to be a man.
But placing someone is more time. So having to place women into specific places takes more time. That's not effective.
Lav, I'll if you don't mind, I just wanted to complete what he's saying, and then I'll let you just hammer away. I just want to beer him.
So yeah, I want it to be a man. If there's a guy trying to save me with a fire axe, but if nobody shows up, I'll take a woman. And so if we need like women for that, then we do.
So you're saying prioritize people that would be fit for a man.
Yeah, and you don't. I wouldn't even go down saying like to the minutia of every single person. Just put women in less physically strenuous roles. That's all.
No, go ahead, Lev.
I already said what I needed to say.
I think she said what she had. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to.
The Ranger is a fucking retard. Okay, who didn't listen to a fucking word that I said. Okay,
We can talk about
Don't
Ranger
fight
later.
me, Ranger.
I want to pass the ball to Daedalus. Hopefully his audio is fixed. And Daedalus,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
If you have a comment
right.
for the panel or a question, by all means, please.
First of all, the only person who was remotely prepared for this panel was Stardust. Jesus Christ. Second, women in the United States Army have been allowed to try for combat roles since 2013, so a whole decade now.
Combat Honor should be 2017, I believe. No, 2015.
2013. I remember my sister's roommate was one of the first field artillery officers, female field artillery officers. I've been involved in military history and working alongside the United States military now for over a decade, and the level of research that you guys did not do today is horrifying. Before you came into this conversation,
what do you want to correct?
There's so much, but don't worry about that. Me and Fairy Queen have been talking. On Monday, me and her are going to have a talk that's actually informed about this. It's going to be a good time.
Well, enough advertisement. If you have questions or thoughts for the panel, please.
What did I say that was incorrect, asshole?
Oh, well, first of all, tattoos are very much allowed in the military.
No, you're not allowed to
you
get
actually
a
go to
tattoo.
jail. Did you know that you actually go to jail?
You're not allowed to get a tattoo without like permission.
You actually get shot in the street.
That's different.
Holy shit!
No,
if
you
they
go
didn't,
to jail.
It's the actual regulations of what you are and are not allowed to do in uniform, which includes
AR 670-1
appropriate wearing of tattoos.
It was AR 670-1
Yes.
You are also not allowed to jerk off without permission by the explicit line of the law.
You're also to clarify. You're also
large amount of
by
people.
masturbation.
I have a weirdly large amount of people in my audience who happen to be like veterans or like ex-military or whatever, and like a whole lot of people in my chat were saying that like nobody gets punished for tattoos unless it's like a face tattoo, you know? So
Sure. I'm just saying. The reason I brought that point up was just to say that they have the authority over what you do with your body. They don't enforce it in that case, but I'm saying that when you join the military, they own your ass.
Yeah. I do have a question for the one that wants to put females in. Do you know how many females, when they come up for deployment, get pregnant?
A lot of.
I wouldn't be
I bet a
surprised
lot.
if. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lot. Yeah.
It's upwards of 40%.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Because they don't want to get deployed. They're there for a job. Going
Yeah.
to a combat zone is one of the worst fucking things people do.
I'm
Which is
not-
why
I'm
people
not
try to
ad-
avoid it.
Yeah, but I'm not advocating for women to be in combat zones, right?
If
yeah.
there's a draft, you'd have to be though.
No, drafts, again, I already explained this to you. In the Vietnam draft, only 25% of the people drafted were in combat zones. Okay, I already fucking explained this to you. I don't know how many times I have to explain this to you guys. It's fucking ridiculous. But if it's
It doesn't
only
seem very effective to
25%,
do a placement after placement after placement just to
Again,
accommodate something
yes,
that we don't need to do.
again, if 75% of the people drafted are not in combat zones, then we can definitely put the most effective people in those places so we can have more able-bodied
How
men
many jobs do you
actually
think aren't in
combat.
combat zones?
75% in that case, but in other
No,
cases,
but like how much
85%.
of the military do you think is
Most-
never
most
seeing
majority
combat?
is on combat.
The vast majority.
Probably
Of
a
it.
No, but
large
like how
amount.
much?
The
85%.
majority.
It's
Yeah.
close to 85 to
85%?
90%
Yes.
of the military works in back end work,
For
doing logistics,
example,
supply.
hold on. For example, it's usually 10 to 1 for a head to tail for logistics. That's a common stat that everybody references. It's because you have to. For the U.S. military, especially, that is resource intensive.
Now,
Yeah,
but
Interesting.
I-
but
And
the
why
point
are they,
is-
and they, why are they
hold
still?
on, hold on.
If they're
hold on.
co-ed,
Hold
why
on.
are they still
But to
underperforming?
the point of Alex Kirsch, who was on here earlier, and I don't know why he brought this up because it goes against his point. We cannot guarantee where the front lines are. And so when you are in a combat zone, which combat zones do need a lot of service personnel, they need cooks, logistics, transportation, etc. Again, you are not safe. And so given that that's the case, and a lot of times transportation's hit and logistics are hit and attacked by the enemy, having them be having a frontline job or not doesn't really matter when you were in a combat zone, right? I mean,
Sure. Yeah,
But-
but again, I'm not necessarily advocating for women to be specifically be put in those places. I'm advocating for the most capable people to be put in the roles that suit them.
Why would you
If
remove
it-
the
but
most
it-
capable
but
people
it
from
seems like
society
women are
and put
not-
them in roles
Because
in the
there are
military?
plenty
It
of
also
people-
just
You've already
seems
said
like
that.
People
statistically
over the
women are
age
not
of 20
capable even in desk jobs in the military.
There
It seems like they
are-
underperform.
There are
It's not true.
plenty of people
Where did you see that,
over
Lav?
the age of 26 who still are excellent at
Here,
their
I'll
jobs who are not
pull
going
up
to be
the
drafted,
stat.
bro.
Co-ed performance.
That's not no. You're talking
Military.
about groups with co-ed. That is a thing, but that's different from saying that women don't perform well.
Well, if the
That-
group,
the
if the women
co-ed is
performed
issue.
less,
The co-ed issue is the same as women getting pregnant. It's because they're like fucking like what there's a problem
Well,
with
no,
discipline. There's a
They're
problem
I
with
think it
discipline
also
when you-
says
when you
that
mix.
just female units don't
Yes.
perform well either.
Correct. I gave those studies to WhickTV. The answer is that if you add females into a unit, unfortunately, reality is a thing. Women can't do as much physical things as men.
Yeah,
but
of
this only
course they
applies.
can't.
This only applies to combat missions sets. So not necessarily desk duty. So it's not as big of an issue.
Yeah, again, if 75% of the people, and again, we are not taking all of the most capable people out of society, but we do want excellent people serving in the military. So yes, from 18 to 26, we're going to pick the most excellent people. Then all of the excellent people over the age of 26 are still in society.
So here we go
Oh.
back to this
And it's
efficiency.
not like
Here,
it's not like a draft is going to take away the option to screen people for the military as well.
Yeah.
Like you
you'd
still
actually
have a
have to
massive
screen. You'd actually have to
apparatus.
screen more for a
You
draft.
still have,
so with the draft,
yeah, you have a massive apparatus that already exists.
With that screening, what do you think the percentage of men to women would be that end up getting drafted if we had a draft?
It's probably
I-
still
like-
going to be vastly majority men. I'm not
So, what-
disagreeing with you.
Give me a
But why
number.
wouldn't? but why
95.5.
I don't know. I don't know
That's
what
probably
percentage
what it would be. So it's pointless. It
No.
it
I
holds
don't think it's
nothing. There's no
pointless. No,
benefit.
No,
it's
it's pointless.
There is
You're
a benefit.
selecting the best
impact
people
that
for each
hold on,
role.
one at a time. I want to hear what. So Ali's point is that it's just superfluous. So why is it not? Why is that incorrect? I want Daedalus to go, then Stardust.
and then Smith.
We know we know we have a decade of data that kind of interdicts that study. First of all, second of all, we know that if someone can adhere to the standard that's set, the physical training standard, the training standards to actually learn, like if you've been through military training, you know how they check you off, and you have, Wick, and it sounds like you have, Artemis, like you know how that works. It's like it's a pass-go system basically. If you do the thing, you are qualified for the job. If they are qualified for the job, then there is no particular reason to keep them out of combat roles.
I'm gonna immediately object.
Wait, so if you have a bunch of women and a bunch of men competing, and the men are all capable and the women are all capable, why would you select any of the women? You need 100 people. You need 100 people.
Representation,
you need 100
equality,
people.
feminism.
You need to draft. Yeah, you need to draft 100 people. This is a hypothetical. You need to draft a hypothetical. 100 men apply, or 100 men are selected. 100 women are selected. They're both groups are 100% capable. Why would you ever choose any women?
Because
What
they're
if the
100%
women
capable.
score better than the men?
They're both full capability. Like the men have the full capability.
They
The women
mean-
have the full
why
capability.
would
Why would
you
you ever
only
select
select the
from
men?
women?
Why would you only select the men then? Like same question backwards.
Well, for the I mean, okay, I guess
Outside of tradition,
I would say tradition and
Well,
men.
to steelman
Depends.
his point a little bit, one of the reasons you would is because women can serve a function at home on the home front that the men simply
And they
can't.
also you're
Hold on.
losing less to send men away because they remain fertile for longer.
Well, hold on. The actual answer is from a military standpoint, you select men because they're less prone to get concussions, their bone density is higher, less fracture.
That's also true.
Less medical problems when you pick the men. But for our society, we have chosen that equality matters a little bit more than our standards and efficiency, so that's why we allow it in.
Oh, I don't.
That's a morality
Again,
argument.
I'm saying in
that
terms of a draft, I don't think equality
Again,
should come
for
into play.
non-combat, but
In
for
terms of draft, equality
non-combat
shouldn't come into play.
roles. Wait, Artemis, for non-combat roles, why shouldn't we have like the most capable people in them, regardless of their sex?
Also, this is drafting them, not them choosing you. Why would you draft women over
Just give
men?
them helmets.
So the answer is that what is the baseline job of a Marine?
Rifleman.
I'm glad you like that, Wick.
What is the
Not sure.
baseline? It's a rifleman. Everybody is
Okay.
a rifleman in the Marines because their job requires it. What is the baseline job for an Army person? It's a soldier.
not
It's the same thing. So the issue is that other than the Air Force and maybe the Space Force, these jobs are going to require that you be physically ready to fight. Because at certain
Right,
points,
right.
your fobs do get overrun and stuff like that, and you don't have the guarantee
Again,
that
you're
you'll
not in the combat zone.
You
Like
don't-
again,
you can't
only
guarantee you
only
won't be.
no, but only
Sure.
that's my point in
Mhm.
and requiring women to sign up for selective service so that we have the best of the best to select from, and we put women. Maybe most of the time, we're probably not going to put women in combat zones. We're probably going to put women in other areas.
That feels that I can tell you from being a serviceman, it sucks when the women can get out of things that the men can't. Like it sucks when
You're not being treated equally at that point.
Lav dipped out.
No, of course it's not equal
or she
because
could have
men and
been- it could
women
have
have
been
different
an issue.
capabilities,
Hopefully
right?
she didn't just dip.
So I'll go back to this. How many people in the United States are qualified to be in the military?
We have an incredibly shrinking pool to begin with.
Well, for
now,
example, let's go with the
from
obesity
fitness
rates.
terms.
Yes.
Ooh.
What is the average? What is the number between men that are obese and the females that are obese? Do we know?
Women are way more
I
obese.
think women are more.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah, women
have
are more.
by default less women. You're going to have to draft more
Yeah.
men.
Sure.
That's fine. That's
course.
that's totally
Yes,
fine.
but
Like
fine.
I just
let's
want them to
take out-
be
So let's take into
considered
account how
as-
many PT tests
want
have
to-
people getting taped for weight.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Necks are great.
But again, I would say that we should be picking the best people for the roles that they are going to be the best in. I don't know why we would choose based like selective service doesn't necessarily mean that just if a draft happens, you're going to be drafted, right?
I mean,
And
that draft
even
would just
then,
take forever.
Even then, wait a minute.
No, it
Even
wouldn't.
then, No,
If we
they
sat
already
and
do
read
it.
resumes and went through each individual,
okay,
see what their best
okay,
skills
resumes,
are.
not
okay.
resumes.
Hold on,
I'm not
hold
saying
on.
resumes. I never said resumes.
Hold on.
You said
Right?
what
We
they
already
did,
do
what
this.
education they have, what job they do, and then that
Well,
what
$5.
they'd be
the
suited for.
government has this information.
$5.
Okay, so,
Resume.
$5
That's a
to
resume.
Skill Tree
Hold on,
Gaming
everybody.
to
Go ahead.
say no
Right.
women shouldn't. No, women shouldn't be required to sign up for the draft for the same reason you shouldn't hit women. I might just be old school.
okay.
Thoughts?
Okay. So again, fuck, where was I? What was I saying? Does anyone remember?
Best qualified for the position for women. for the
Yes,
draft,
best. Okay, yes. So if women and men are both required to sign up for
Mhm.
selective service, I do like the idea that, again, it is a law that we've made more equal, right? That doesn't mean the execution of that law is going to be necessarily 50-50, right?
Mhm.
We're going to choose the best of the group of people, the pool that we have that we can draft people from.
That's
and
not how
put them
drafts
in the
work,
positions.
Stardust.
We
We don't
do it.
choose
It's like a
people.
buzzer.
Hold
Reads
on,
them.
hold on,
Random
not
selection.
really. Hold on.
Just a second. Even with the lottery, people will still place people in specific places, right? So even with the lottery, they do that. So if we do that, we have the best of the best, and we have the ability to place people, the best people for the role that suits them. Even if it's unequal, even if it's like women end up doing more like support and admin roles and stuff and not in the combat zones, that still frees up more men, more able-bodied men who can be in the combat zones, who can do the things that women, it would be too dangerous to have a woman there for.
I have one caveat
Okay,
to this.
wait.
Or you
go
could just
ahead.
draft more men.
Go ahead, Smith. Go ahead, Smith.
No. Respond to her. I wanted to answer Ollie's
Okay.
question.
But
So
then
we're gonna go-
we're gonna cycle because there's more
So
people.
so I'm gonna take your equality argument, Smith, and ask. So your version of
Sure.
the draft, Stardust. How is it not going to be where the poor and uneducated aren't going to be sent to the meat grinder, while the rich and educated are going to?
That's already how it is. That's
it's
already
not.
how it is.
No, it's not.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
it is. Well,
that's how
okay,
we-
when it comes to a draft, when it comes to drafts, historically, if you look at drafts, it is the poor who
You're
end up
guaranteeing
suffering
it
the
this way.
most.
You're guaranteeing it this way, though.
A draft is ideally not supposed to be that.
It's supposed to be random, on purpose.
The way
Sure.
that we do it without the draft is more like that because we send the recruiters to the poor neighborhoods and shit.
Well, that's
Yeah.
not true either. Like we've had a largely middle class military for decades now.
They go to colleges a lot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like do you know how many NCOs? Do you know how many NCOs have college
high
degrees
schools.
now?
Yeah.
High schools too.
I'm
Okay,
willing
like-
to. I'm willing to say I'm wrong. on that. I
No,
don't know
look, I'm just saying that in the past,
about that.
as I've seen how drafts have been conducted, most of the time, unfortunately, it seems to be that poor people seem to bear the brunt of that, and that sucks, right? And if you guys have a solution to that, then I'm happy to hear solutions.
$5
Isn't a solution because it's sorry.
from
go.
𝕍𝖎. And this question to Stardust, and then we'll cycle, right? Should an able-bodied military general/commander be sent on the front line to be replaced by an undertrained woman?
No, I mean, again, it's going to be based off of quality, like the quality of the personnel. Obviously, there are going to be way less women who end up getting recruited overall. It's just the idea that women are also required to sign up for selective service. If they happen to meet the requirements, if they happen to be the best person for the job, then then we'll put them.
We're not looking for that when we have a draft, though. When you have a draft, it is a
You're
last
muted.
resort.
Hold on, he's muted.
I'm muted?
No.
Smith.
No,
Are you
Nah.
talking to your chat, Smith? Or are
he's
you talking?
probably
Can't hear
talking
you.
to his chat.
Okay, so last
Yes,
thoughts from Daedalus, last thoughts from Artemis, then I'll psych you that. Last thoughts.
Smith,
Yeah.
you're muted. Smith. So
I
go
see.
I
ahead.
know. I was
actually-
talking. I was talking to my chat.
Okay, I was just making sure.
I was
I see
telling him
absolutely-
why I'm being silenced,
You're not being silenced. Daedalus, last thoughts, and then Artemis, last thoughts.
and then we're
I-
moving on over me.
I will.
I
just want to respond to
forgo-
Stardust real quick.
Dallas, I will forgo my stuff for Smith, so he can have his word.
Okay,
Fair.
so the I don't really necessarily. I think that in Stardust's idea about reforming the draft is like novel, but I don't necessarily agree with it. But it's interesting. But I think that the benefit to having women is part of the equality thing. Because I think that the impact that it might be the case that most women are actually not like nearly as capable or like meet the standards that we need to like actually draft them. The more of them are obese, more of them are mentally ill, whatever. That's fine. Like, but the fact that we say that we think that they are like equal, even if less of them can be drafted. The fact that we are holding them to those same standards and seeing them as equals means that we are in a society that like actually sees women as equal.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah.
All right. American women have been serving in the global war on terror on basically the front line now for nigh on 20 years. There's no reason, provided they cannot meet the standard, that they should not be able to do so. And by that same token, there's no reason they should not be included in the draft.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Got a couple more.
So like Star, my thing for that is that the draft is a last resort thing. And so like you're not going to be taking the time to select the best of the best, which is why it's randomized at 18 to 24-year-old men, because they're going to be on average just capable versus us sifting through who is capable and isn't capable. These group of people are typically just going to be on average capable versus finding people that are capable.
Even when they do the lottery though, they still will place certain people in certain places, right?
Exactly, but
it's not completely random. It's random in the specific people, who get chosen.
No, the selection of people that you're pulling from is random because you're pulling from a general grouping. Versus if you were being specific with who you were selecting.
But even if we keep that system, we'll go through the pool of people that we're pulling from and choose people for specific roles, right?
Yeah, I'm saying like it's just faster because we're just taking from the general pool. No, so like when you're drafting, so like in your idea, when drafted, we'd look at the resumes before we pull.
I'm not talking even about my idea anymore. I'm not talking about my idea. We're like, let's go just back to like the normal draft, that how it is. You pull a number and you get all these people with this birth date, right?
Yeah, having women would just kind of fuck it up because like
and then
on average.
And then if you have all those people, right, from that birth date, and you go through them and see, and you bring them in and see whether they're qualified or not for this, right? And then if they are qualified, you put them in specific places based on their skills, right? It's the same thing. Like we could just
if we had it randomized.
Well, they base it on their needs first and foremost. The needs of the needs of the force.
You'd have it randomized, and they'd probably still select for women last. Women
sure,
would be
they would select for women last. That's fine.
Last. Even if they got to
just
women.
real quick.
I still think women should be required to sign up for selective service.
I wanted to toss it to the people here. I'll give it to Abolition first, and I'll give it to Tears in the Rain. So Abolition, what do you got for the panel?
What I got for the panel is there's already enough ways to find an exemption from being enlisted into the military, either through the draft or like say. If we were to implement some kind of conscription service, because conscription and the draft are two different things, right? So there's the possibility of mental disabilities, there's physical unfitness, which I think a lot of women would be maybe not willing to take that one specifically because of the implication of saying that women are physically not as fit as men for all the work that women have done. And then there's like childbirth and higher education. So pursuing a college degree can delay your enlistment into the military. I think with all of these things already available, there's not really a reason for women to not be included into the draft, other than we're worried more or less about how that looks for men to other countries in saying that our women are going to fight for us. Because the whole like men need to defend women. Or women shouldn't even be in non-combat roles if accepted into the draft is more or less just like a cultural, like very culturally conservative kind of standard that mostly just affects international politics. So like how our enemies see us, how our allies see us. So maybe like countries like Ukraine, Finland, Afghanistan may see us differently. Regardless if they're our ally or not, just by the fact that we let women into the military, and then we also require them at our greatest needs or our greatest sense of like a period of emergency to require that they join the military, right? And honestly, like we have a fuckload of people and feed them very typically well. It doesn't matter if they're a man or woman, then they want to join the military. Really, we have enough exemptions for them not to fulfill a draft. I think them having to sign up is fair.
Okay. Any thoughts to that? Then we'll go to Tears in the Rain.
I mean, once again, I'm just going to put it on average. On average, I think 18 to 24-year-old men are highly more capable of being in a military during a draft than women. Like there's no positive to drafting women.
Yeah.
No one's given an actual
I'm not
positive
just-
other than
But that's not-
equality.
So the first thing you
And
said is
number-
not relevant. The first
Other
thing
than
you said.
equality.
The first
And
thing you
number
said
of
is not.
people.
You're
the
just getting the same amount of people.
Yeah, the first thing you said is not really relevant to the second thing that you said, because the first thing that you said was that men are more typically qualified to be physically fit or physically capable of accomplishing the task necessary for being
Any task,
to being effective.
not just physical. Not just physical.
Okay, that's fine. I'll even go off of that, right? And then the second, so right, what you're saying is that women aren't as likely to be within the same qualifications that you're kind of laying out. But the fact is not that they're more likely or as capable. The fact that there is some of them are capable. And so you're expanding the workforce within the military. That's really what the draft is doing.
You're not really expanding the work.
You are, because if you have
how many people are part of selective service right now?
Huh?
How many people are part of selective service right now?
Every man. Yeah, every man.
Every man under 24.
And here's the thing
So
too,
you're not
right?
expanding it. We have a lot of men.
No,
So just adding women
you are
doesn't
expanding
really
it because not every man fulfills the selective service if we were to go into war and then initiate the draft, right? Because you have men that are draft dodgers, right? We saw this in Vietnam and Korea and well, I guess just Vietnam and Korea lately. And then you have men that are not physically fit. You saw this in World War II. And you have men that pursue higher education and religious exemption specifically so that they can't join the military. So those gaps, those things that are failing, there may be women who are effective in their position enough. Not even like to yours, not so that, because how you're saying is that they're not going to be as effective, right? So
I don't
the
think
way
we'd reach them. I don't think we'd get to the point where we're drafting women. I think we have enough men in selective service that we would be able to pull.
So I don't,
if needed, yeah.
So I don't think where we are today, we would initiate a draft for women. But I'm saying that it's totally doable in a way that increases the number of people that are not just able to sign on to the draft, but are compliant with a potential draft.
But I feel like you're just adding a group of people that are like no one's thinking about them. So like, how many people are how many men are eligible, like number wise, eligible for the draft? Number.
Well, regardless if you're eligible for military service, you sign on for the draft.
Got all the numbers if you like.
Man, yeah.
Let's call 100 million men are eligible for the draft.
Well, I mean, half of America. So half of America by the time they reach high school, right?
So the number you're pulling from is pretty fucking massive. Even if there are draft dodgers and people who are exempt, you're still going to have enough people to fill these roles.
No,
you
but
don't
that's
need
that's the thing. It's a recent development that there isn't enough people to meet the quotas for enlistment. So our concern with the
draft.
Yeah. No, but here's the thing, right? If we can't get enough people to voluntarily sign on because we have a voluntary service, when we tell people to sign on, what is our concern with the people that aren't going to look for those exemptions? Right. And so by simply allowing women or enforcing women sign on to the selective service, right, and then giving them the option to opt out of selective service, we are still like just going to have more people fulfill selective service.
Okay, I want to toss it to Tears in the Rain. If you have a thought for the panel or something to say, now's your time to shine, buddy.
Well, hello. So I'm a Canadian, and I happen to have family who's American, and a lot of Americans in Canada are there because Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the father of Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister today of Canada, invited Americans to come to Canada during the American Vietnam War as draft dodgers. So I actually know all kinds of things about conscription, about the U.S. military, about vets, about the VA, about the VFW, about all kinds of things, and I tend to like to have an open mind and to have better dialogues.
So do you think women should sign up for the
draft?
Should women be required to sign up for the draft in America?
It's America, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
What makes women any different in the Constitution?
Actually, I can answer that. The thing that makes them different is that they have a specific amendment that grants their specific rights to vote. Right. That is the unique thing about them, is that we do, by the definition of our Constitution, differentiate them. And so we do have a legal precedent to look at them differently. And I don't think that we shouldn't. I think that women have done a lot specifically to create safe spaces, specifically to empower themselves within the workforce to make them competitive amongst their male peers, not in terms of their abilities, but in terms of being viewed as capable of being in administrative positions.
Yeah, but that's not an amendment to have them be seen differently. That's an amendment to have them be seen equally, because originally they weren't.
Like
right. No,
other
I agree.
groups,
I agree
there's
with that
another
phrasing,
amendment,
right?
by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah. I agree with that phrasing, but the fact that we specify them, right, that we single them out, not in a negative way, that's how we're seeing them differently. Yeah, and I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
Okay. I want to give it to People's
Yeah,
Elbow.
and I'm not oh, sorry.
People's Elbow.
No, go ahead, Stardust.
I just want to say I'm not one of these. I'm not one of these feminists who says there's no difference between men and women physically or in their capabilities, right? I am very willing to admit that, like, one of my main points of like being a feminist
Might
is
I
that
interrupt Stardust and suggest that quantile analysis of everything, whenever a person uses average,
Is this
it's
Saxon?
rather mean to use the mean average, So
I think this
in
is
every
Saxon.
single thing in the entire world where people actually care, like insurance or the military intelligence, there's a quantile analysis. So there's enough women in America are so amazing to actually fill the entire military because of numbers. And so we can look and say the average woman in America, yes, but there's so much unaverage people in America, being the
Tears.
largest non-peasant population on the planet, contiguous with
Hey,
one
Tears, can I ask you a
constitution,
question
one
real quick?
belief system.
Tears, can I ask you a question real quick? What kind of computer do you have?
Okay, I don't care about that. I will kick you both off before we go.
Silicon.
Okay,
People,
that's fine.
I'm
hold
It's
on.
fine. I'll drop it. I won't do it.
I actually have to go.
I know, but let's.
That's always fun yelling with you.
Yeah,
That's
Smith,
a
it was
good
fun.
waste of
There you go.
Everybody that I yell
a
at,
question in the
I have
midst
a
of
place in my
real
heart for.
serious questions that talk about people dying,
Hey, Smith,
people
you have a great
wanting to
night.
stand up
It
for
was
their
Have a good night,
country.
Smith.
You too. Thank you for
A
doing
lot
that.
of different things, but it's
Peace out, man.
asking a useless question is a waste of time, and time is something that's precious for everyone,
People's
unless
Elbow.
it's
You're
not.
up.
Yeah. So a couple of things. No, I don't think in the first instance we ought to have women participating in the draft. This is usually a Weasley argument made by weak beta men who try to argue with feminists, and it is a beta man who argues with feminists. Just ignore him.
Anyone who
But
uses
nonetheless,
the
Wow,
ought
what the fuck,
argument
dude?
is a do not.
so typically what happens, the argument comes up that, look, if feminists are arguing for equality, then they must also serve in the armed forces. And just as a man,
No.
I don't want women serving in frontline combat roles, just period. However, if we're talking about a draft where the nation is facing a national emergency, an exigent circumstance, much like Israel thinks it feels and relies on conscription to fill its ranks.
Are you sure you know
then-
what that word means?
Then women ought to be eligible to be pulled in only in that far right hand side of the spectrum where we are facing a true national emergency. But as a matter of course, to go fight yet another war in Europe, no, I don't think women ought to be included amongst the men. And that's not to say that women can't serve and can't meet the physical demands. I just don't like the idea of it. Now, Stardust, you made a point earlier that I think you were trying to make a point that the draft doesn't really work if we're trying to fill the ranks to fight a war, because the number of draftees who will actually end up in a combat zone is a low number. Did I get your argument correct there?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, and from that saying, well, look, the majority of draftees then are ending up in non-combat roles. So why ought not women participate then in the draft? Is that the conclusion to draw from that?
Well,
citation?
it's kind of like it's partly why would you not pull from an expanded pool for the best people possible? Now obviously, it's still going to be majority men, but
Yeah.
I think that we should still require women to sign up for selective service in the case that there is a highly capable woman out there that we could use, so
Sure.
yeah.
No, I get that point. One quibble that I have though is I was really interested by the reference you made to 25% ending up in a combat zone in the Vietnam era, and I started looking at the data, and if the data is accurate that I've seen, and I posted it in Wick's chat, was about 2 million people served during the Vietnam era, with about 1 to 1.5 million people serving in combat roles in Vietnam. And of those, about 648,000 and change were draftees. So roughly about more than half of those who were drafted, those who served, let me back up a step. 1.8 million were actually drafted, and 648,000 and change ended up in Vietnam serving in one of three roles: frontline combat, close support, and a third one. So there was a much higher proportion than 25% actually ending up in the combat zone.
Is that number from enlisted total, or is that number from draftees only?
The 2 million represents the total number, 2 million and change, right? And what was interesting, I did see a 25% reference though, and that was of the total number of people who served, 25% who served at the time, 25% were draftees. But that is something different than the total number of draftees that were sent to Vietnam to serve.
I found a different one. It's the 25%. Sorry, I don't mean it. I'm just gonna throw this out
ahead.
there. Yeah. What I found was the 25% of military forces in the combat zones were draftees, and that's from the University of Michigan. But
yeah, that's the same link I saw.
Okay,
and that's
yeah,
something
okay,
I
cool.
might have the wrong. I might have the
only
wrong
25% of the total number.
Give
And
me
It's fine.
misinformation on my panels. What are you doing?
Misinformation.
Misinformation.
No,
And the
my bad.
significance there too. The significance there too. Just because it might be a lie, what's the significance of it being incorrect? This
Maybe
is the
it's this
problem
one.
with averages again, because more or less of a significance when you just have an average is mean, because to some groups, outliers especially, there can be huge significance. I just wanted to point that out.
It's been
Stardust, what were you gonna say?
It's been a trip.
Yeah.
It's been a
I'm gonna
show.
say
I'll let you finish real quick, but I just want to. After Stardust goes,
Would you
we're
like
just
to
gonna
know
close
the
it out.
experience of people who are conscripted and then
I may
said to Uncle
end
Sam,
this,
no thank you?
If I may take this behind the
sure.
shed, right? Old Yeller it.
By all means, wait.
Tomorrow, gang, 6 o'clock, we're going to be talking about AI art. Recently there was a kerfuffle. There was a kerfuffle.
The intellectual
on
property
the internet.
side, I'm a specialist in that.
It's not the intellectual property side. It's the morality side. There was a painting done by an artist, Keith, is his first name. I forget his last name, but basically he had AIDS, and he made a painting that he purposely left unfinished before he died and passed away, to kind of showcase like the horror of death and the unfinished, incomplete list of life.
You're talking about Keith Haring.
Yeah, Keith Haring. Sorry.
Yeah.
If I may. Well, the AI finished it. The AI finished the painting, and a lot of people got really mad at that. There was some sort of desecration. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. That'll be great. And then 7 p.m. Eastern on Friday, we're going to have No Opinion, and 𝕵𝖎𝖙 are going to be talking to Omar and Tanky Characteristics about the Houthis. And that'll be fun. Okay, with that said, Stardust, take it away.
Yeah. I just wanted to correct the record. It is, yes, 25% of total forces in the country were draftees. So I think I must have
During which
misread the
years?
statistic.
During which years as well? A timetable of a quantile makes them multidimensional. Wick, can I just add one quick thing? Look into the weaponization of Steamboat Willie for Pornhub and other reasons. Yesterday was the freeing of Mickey Mouse's progenitor from the tyranny of copyright forever.
Can I just say, I resent you interrupting me? Tears in the rain?
I so appreciate it. I'm terribly sorry. Stardust is fair. 99.9% of the time, like Ivory soap.
Stardust, are you going to keep streaming after this?
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah, I'll just write into you. Okay, gang, I will kick you all out now. Bye. Well, that was something, gang. I don't know if it was a good something or a bad something, but it was content, wasn't it? Hey, we're starting out the year with a bang, if you will. I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow should be fun. Tune in, like I said. Gang, if you like this content, if you enjoy the show, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Throw me some bits. Throw me some gift subs, gang. become a YouTube member. Super chat at me. I'll try to read them out. All these things are great, right? Let me get to the super chats I wasn't able to get to during the live show real quick. Give me a second. I'll try to remember them. Okay, so 𝕍𝖎 for $2. Are people born on 29th February immune from the draft? $2 from Artemis Fowl. Boot them all. Fair enough. $5 from 𝕍𝖎. Send them to the front line. They're smaller. Speaking of women, therefore harder to aim at. The op will be demoralized when their accuracy and KD ratio falls by 40%. I looking to see if there are any else I missed. $5 from Fairy Queen. Who agrees with the following statement? Equality of rights shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. I think that there is being required to sign up for a selective service a right? I don't think it is. I think it's a requirement. And we have different requirements for different groups. So there is that. Let's see. Yeah, I think I got to them all. Gang, thank you for coming by. I hope you enjoyed it. We will raid out into Stardust, and we will see you tomorrow. So remember, tomorrow is going to be great. We're going to have a few people on. Tuna Chip will be here. We're going to have Dingo on. So there's that. So yeah, check us out. Bye-bye.